Let's blast this off. Let's freaking blast off, fam. Okay, SCOTUS defends birthright, but does horrible otherwise. Hogwatch. I'm in Denver. David Dan on the talk SCOTUS. Canvas lead with Rob later. Bringing socialism to Colorado. A chud can be a Chad. The only thing needs to change is you. Wow, that was beautiful. That was deep. Does anyone have a blast off meme? Okay, that's beautiful. All right, we'll use that one. We use that one. We use that one. We use those. We use those. Hell yeah. Okay, let's do it. I already blasted off. Shit, I missed it. I missed the go vote ones, but I mean, I got one. I got one. I got the Mailot Kuros for Piker Broadcasting Service blast off, ready to rip. Yeah, this is a packed day today, folks. This is a packed day. It is a slam day. Okay? It's a slammed ass Tuesday. Let's be real. It's no longer a Newsday Tuesday. It's a slammed ass Tuesday. It's Socialism Tuesday. Why do you only go to Denver after I've been priced out of it and forced to move to New Mexico? Sag, buddy, my goal here is to make sure that what happened to you doesn't happen to any other Denverites ever again. You understand me? Also, if you can get priced out of Denver, it's only an inevitability that you will eventually get priced out of New Mexico as well. What happened to you in Denver can happen to you in New Mexico too. So this is a national movement. And perhaps maybe one day I'll be in your neighborhood organizing and trying to get an elected representative that will fight for your values, fight for all of our shared values. Yeah. Also, last but not least, Deep Singh says, I already blasted off, by the way. I'll get to the ballot harvesting. There is legal ballot harvesting that we can do in Denver, Colorado. Not illegal, legal ballot harvesting. But anyway, we're blasting off first and foremost. Let the people know we're live and alive. Paralyzed Pendant Plug. Thank you for the gifted subs. The suit with the knit tie. Oof. Yep. Where the money from the Fear and podcast goes. Austin's flights to LA every week. Austin's gaycation. Austin's twink budget. Austin's hotel suite budget. Hassan's travel for campaigning. Will's stream room decor. Cutie's awesome events. March's drugs. That's funny. Oh man, you don't know the half of it. Anyway. Can we get some meals in the chat? While people are calling and canvassing, might as well drop Julie Gonzalez's name. Oh, for sure. Bro, cheesing like crazy, bullying.
You put the suit on.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you doing here?
Well, first of all, Oliver, thank you so much for having me. Everybody, I'm a content creator on Twitch TV. And,
running for Oregon 1.
Yeah, Oregon 1. That's right. I'm also Hassan Piker's co-host of the Fear and podcast. But, you know, Oliver, I'm not a political commentator, but I join millions of Americans in being concerned and people who have become disillusioned with the Democratic.
Look at my face. I'm so proud of him. He was so good. He was so good yesterday. It was actually incredible. Okay. He made me proud. He made me so proud. He killed it. And I heard that he killed it after I left as well. He especially killed it. You're trying not to laugh so fucking
Establishment
hard,
that has become more and more disconnected and in many ways failed its constituents. And it's so great to be here to elevate the message of you, who will deliver an agenda for the working class. And Oliver, I want to take a personal moment to thank you for making a commitment to fight. You've got tremendous policies across the board, but specifically making a commitment to fighting and protecting LGBTQIA+ healthcare, specifically as it pertains to PrEP, which is an incredible medication that I use personally that literally saves lives and prevents HIV/AIDS with incredible success, 99%. So I'm so happy to be here and support and elevate your message. We've got $38,762 donated out of
39.
$39,000, excuse me, $257 donated. I know.
I was about to cook you and be like, name a policy, but you already did. You came in hot.
Are you kidding me? Hassan,
I got this. You came in hot.
I got this suit on. Are you kidding me? Of course I'm prepared.
Yeah. Does this shirt also not fit you well, or
Oliver's like, what the fuck are these guys doing, man? Do you feel like Kai with all that back room space? I low-key want to fix the lighting a little bit. I don't like that the light is making the room weird colored. Bro, Oliver's up until 12 doing interviews like crazy. Yeah, because his race is in Florida, and Florida is not this like glossy, big, like Florida 25 is not going to get all the attention, right?
James Carr.
Florida is not going to get the attention that like Denver is, that New York is, especially because a lot of people think that this is like a lost cause. The only way to win in districts like this is by being a right-wing Democrat, and that's wrong, and we're going to prove them wrong. Gross finger coffee, dipping digits. I just got out of the shower. My fingers are cleaner than your life. Okay, yeah. I don't have anything to stir it with. Yeah, I did it again. I just got out of the shower, chatters. The fuck are you talking about? Anyway, where were we? Okay, so let's get into it. I love this photo. I like that we substituted Mahlon Quiros for Colorado first on this. Is it me, or are the leftist candidates just surging as primaries get closer? Did you clean that finger in the shower, though? Yes, dude. Who doesn't? No, I showered, and I kept my one digit out of the shower while I was doing it. Average voter, if Zoran does it. Democratic socialism polling. Okay, we'll look at all that. Yeah, we'll do all that and more. Will you consider having David Morales on Providence, Rhode Island mayoral race? He's endorsed by Roe and Bernie. Turn off the lights when you finger the coffee. I don't even turn the lights off when I'm fingering. Never mind, I'm not even going to say it. You showered with the suit on? Yes, I wore the suit on the flight. I took off the suit, I showered, and then I put the suit back on. What the hell are you talking about? It's normal. This is a normal thing that people do. I'm a normal guy. Okay? Yeah, breaking news. Israeli Prime Minister Satan Yahu says he will visit New York City very soon, claiming that Zohran Mamdani cannot arrest him. Exhibit C says the average American if Zoran actually arrests Netanyahu.
And let me tell you, I've been taken up to the third heaven. I've been jacked into the big plan. I've seen it. I can't even compute all of it. It's so fantastical. You've not seen nothing. You ain't heard nothing. You ain't smelled nothing like this. I don't have words to tell you. But I tell you, anybody tries to get in the way of the incredible plan the big guy's got for us has got me pissed, and I'm just begging to stay on the team, man. Just put me in the game, coach. Whatever you say, coach. I know I'm weak. I know I'm pathetic. Man, you're amazing. I'm so lucky you made me. What do I do, Bob? Like a hunting dog, man. Just take me out of the house. Just turn me on them. Just tell me what I got to do. Tell me how I serve you. Tell me what I can do for you right now. Let me tell you.
Hold on. Sorry. Anyway, I think Zoran will try, but Tish will refuse. I mean, who knows, man? Dude, Big Z. Listen to the fucking pressure from the Democratic Socialists of America, New York City. You wore the same suit? Wait, what do you mean? Does this look like the same suit? I literally didn't wear the same suit, even though I'm a very... Okay, you guys want to know something? I'm not a very spiritual person, but I do care a lot about, like, what's it called when you have, like, certain things, certain knickknacks that you think are lucky? Like, I'm not a spiritual person at all, but I do have in my mind, like, nazar. I'm superstitious. I'm a little superstitious. Thank you. And I did think about wearing this exact same fit, but then I was like, dude, I've been wearing the same suit everywhere. I'm a little bit of a crystal mommy. It's a confession for you guys. I'm a little bit of a crystal mommy, but I got the lucky DSA pin on. I got the lucky Japanese Communist Party tie bar on. Okay? So I think this will carry us into victory. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. Sure. You know? I'm like moderate stitious. I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, I am the exact type of guy who's like, we got to recreate the exact same conditions of victory that took place. I think you're thinking of sentimental. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, look, at the end of the day, what matters most as a fucking hardline materialist, I believe in the power of organizing, obviously. Okay. I apologize for my counter-revolutionary behavior by offering credence to superstition. Obviously, I am, I will be writing I will be writing a report on my counter-revolutionary activity soon. Okay. But there's a little bit of that in me. There's a little bit of that dog in me. I don't know what it is, but I don't let it take over at all. I don't let it take over my entire mindset. And I do think that first and foremost, primarily what matters is putting the work in, organizing, making sure that you have the people. Okay. But I do have a little bit of magical thinking that I abide by, because there's always luck, also always factors in these sorts of incidents, right? Let's just call it Turkish magic. Sure. Anyway, we got so much going on. I will be having David Dane of the American Prospect on later on the show before I go out with Chris Rabb. Before I go out with Chris Rabb, we'll obviously talk about what Zoran just did with the head count. Okay. Journal Sentinel from Milwaukee reports Hong appears on stream with Hassan Piker, who has said U.S. deserved 9/11. Yeah, this is like, I think it's a real shame that there are enough like hitters, enough assassins, enough people that will, do the bidding of the ADL, do the bidding of Israel in like every local newspaper. I don't think this is the same for the rest of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel people, but it is kind of sad that there's enough people that will write a hit piece, right? There's enough people that will write a hit piece in virtually every small market, big market, doesn't matter, in every local news media organization. Like under different circumstances a year ago, before the barrage of hate attacks started, before the barrage of hate attacks unfolded, a couple of years ago, they would have said, Francesca Hong appears with, leftist streamer who is organizing voters, who's organizing Gen Z, who's converted a lot of young men from the far right. That was the angle. And nowadays it's all controversial streamer, U.S. deserved 9/11. They're trying to make fetch happen. It hasn't happened, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's just, as long as they can scare any boomer, as long as they can scare 10 boomers, and as long as they can drive clicks with this controversy, they'll do it, right? Key points. Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong raised more than $57,000 by appearing on a live stream with controversial online commentator Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker has faced criticism for past comments, including saying America deserved 9/11 and other remarks called anti-Semitic. Hong defended her appearance, stating candidates need to engage with large audiences. Though she disagrees with some of Piker's statements, the appearance drew criticism from Wisconsin conservatives and has highlighted a divide among Democrats on whether to engage with Piker. It's just funny because there is no fucking divergence, right? There is no divide among Democrats. I'm telling you right now, all of that is just completely made up. It's just like a blanket template that they apply anytime they mention me. In the past, when they used to mention me, they would say Hassan Piker converts a lot of young men from the far right. Now that's substituted into Hassan Piker is a prominent critic of Israel, and therefore we can't just say he's a prominent critic of Israel. We have to say he's a vicious, rabid, anti-Semitic, anti-American monster. Now, of course, it doesn't really matter, because what a lot of these guys don't recognize, I hate it personally. I hate being smeared as an anti-Semite. It annoys me. It's untrue, and it makes no sense. I'm someone who has combated anti-Semitism my whole life, and I will continue to do so. However, what they don't realize is this kind of commentary coming from local newspapers and mainstream media outlets unironically boosts my legitimacy, because the average American literally hears that and thinks, oh, here we go again. They're calling another critic of Israel an anti-Semite. He must be a real one. Okay? That's it. That's it. I hope at some point the media will stop doing this. It's just very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating to see it. And everybody sees it. Like, this isn't a real thing. You know what I mean? This is not a real cause for concern. I don't think anyone serious thinks I'm legitimately anti-Semitic or whatever. I mean, it's just so stupid. And we just have to eat it. I guess there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to wait it out. Ben Lorber, consciously or not, Hassan is brilliantly taking a page from Steve Bannon's War Room, which has served as a live stream for MAGA candidates and operatives to develop and cross-pollinate strategy and tactics. Different Hassan's 30K viewers plus DSA as a grassroots infrastructure. If the left is having its Tea Party moment, developing a populist groundswell towards oriented towards reshaping one of the two major parties and winning political power, Piker's playing a crucial role. I am doing it on purpose. Of course, this is all deliberate. That's also part of the reason why I am on the receiving end of these like heinous smears, consistently being called and smeared as an anti-Semite. It is what it is. Hassan's solution to everything is just eat it. Buddy, it's worked so far. Okay? Has it not worked so far? I think it's worked so far. Right? But I will say, I think with Israel's Hasbara budget increasing, this kind of stuff has increased alongside it as well. Like, I'll just straight up say it. I think at this point, anyone that fucking defends Israel on the right or on the left, it must be getting a little piece of that motion, right? Like someone like Asmongold magically turns his entire worldview around. I know he's already... He's not exactly morally consistent, intellectually consistent, or an intellectual at all, but such a glaringly obvious shift away from being like, oh, I don't really care about Israel, to actually Muslims are our enemy and Israel is defending us in the West. He sounds like Tommy Robinson, right? I think guys like that are probably getting a piece of that action. They have to be. Okay, they have to be, because if you're an independent content creator, you're aware by design of the way, which way the winds are blowing. So anyone like Asmongold that goes against the grain in this regard is not doing it because of their own moral framework. Okay, I think he's doing it because he's doing it because he's probably getting a little piece of that action. Yeah. He went from, oh, wow, Israel has a tremendous amount of control over domestic policy. I find that unconscionable, to Israel is our most moral ally. He's literally repeating the exact same shit that you hear from Jonathan Greenblatt, the exact same shit that you hear from all these other people, all these other bought and paid for or ideologically minded people that have, defended Israel their whole lives or are getting paid to defend Israel. It's not an accident. Anyway, Hong raised another nearly 35 grand the same day while joining Mike from PA Stream, an account banned from Twitch several times. Her appearance came one day before the end of a fundraising period. Candidates have until July 15th to submit a campaign finance report covering activity from January 1st to June 30th. Hong spoke with Piker for about 90 minutes discussing policies on her platform, the departure of Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis, the Act 10 era of Wisconsin politics, Madison's restaurant scene, and whether a Democratic Socialist is viable in Wisconsin. The person who wins the most votes is the most electable, Hong said. Wisconsin conservatives seized on Hong's appearance with Piker, including Representative Tom Tiffany, who's the Republican frontrunner in the governor's race. Conservative radio host Dan O'Donnell said Piker just might be the only person on earth crazier than she is. Critics have called Piker anti-American and anti-Semitic. In comments from 2019, Piker had said, America deserved 9/11. later calling his remark inappropriate. Piker recently said he would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time. Comments condemned by the American Jewish Committee, a U.S. House resolution, blah, blah, blah. So they just like slap on all of that over and over again. In June, Piker was blocked from entering the United Kingdom, where the government determined his presence may not be conducive to the public good. Piker and his local commentator, Bachank Uyghur, said they were banned for criticizing Israel, the BBC reported. See, I'll put you on game, okay? You want to know how you write this article favorably, normally? As a prominent critic of Israel, Hassan Piker has been falsely or has been criticized as an anti-Semite or has been called an anti-Semite. A criticism that he considers to be a heinous smear, as he has said over and over again that he's had a long career of advocacy against anti-Semitism, like something along those lines. There's no counters on here at all. You know what I mean? You could add on Jeremy Corbyn or Zach Polanski, also including numerous other advocacy organizations in the UK, roundly condemning this decision when talking about the British, the British ban, because it was an unbelievably controversial ban that no one in the UK actually agreed with, so much so that even ops of mine, like even pro-Israel publications like the Free Press, criticized the British government for doing this, right? But they don't mention any of that. They don't do balanced coverage on this stuff because balanced coverage would imply the hollow nature of these criticisms and how ridiculous it is. Francesca Hong willingly appeared on a live stream with someone who has said America deserved 9/11, praised Hezbollah terrorists, and claimed it doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. Tiffany said in a statement, if any other Democrat candidates for governor refuse to condemn these statements, they're making one thing clear. This is the extremism the Democratic Party fully embraces. Spokesperson for Sarah Rodriguez, considered one of the frontrunners, said the campaign had no comment on Hong's appearance with Piker. Democratic candidate Mandela Barnes also didn't comment. Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley was the first to say he would not appear with Piker if invited. Who the fuck is Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley? Bitch, who the fuck is inviting you to the broadcast? Who invited you? Who are these people? Where are these people coming from? They're like, oh, dude, listen, I'm not coming on to Hassan Piker. Oh, really? Guys, if someone were to give me $1 million, I'd say no as comment, dude. What is this? Dinner with Jay-Z or $1 billion ass hypothetical? Neither is happening for you, big dog. Why the fuck would I have you as the Milwaukee County executive on my fucking broadcast? When have I ever had the equivalent of something like that on my motherfucking broadcast? Oh my God, dude. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, me, for example, if Dua Lipa was like, I'm breaking up with my husband to go on one of these fancy Europe travel trips with a controversial streamer Hassan Piker, I'd say no. You know, I'm a man of Allah. I'm a man of God. No, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, it's not. You know, what do you mean? What the fuck is this dumbass? What the fuck is this dumbass statement? It's like chatters being like, I'm not coming on the broadcast. Chatters have a much higher likelihood of coming on the broadcast than the Milwaukee County executive. I am open to all reasonable, pragmatic conversation about how to move our state forward, but Hassan Piker's statements are beyond the pale, and I would not appear with them if invited, Crowley said. This race isn't about who can generate the most viewers on live streams by making outrageous and offensive statements. In a statement shared by her campaign, Hong said she doesn't necessarily agree with every single statement Hassan Piker has ever made, but it is inarguable that he uses his massive platform to stand up for working class people, for trans people, for immigrants, for other marginalized folks. Hong says she specifically disagrees with Piker's 2019 comments about killing capitalists circulated by Wisconsin conservatives after Hong's stream with Piker. I abhor political violence. Yeah, I do too. Okay? Piker has campaigned with Democratic Socialists elsewhere. In a teaser announced for Hong's appearance, Piker said he could head to Wisconsin to stump for Hong. Piker's also rallied for Democratic Socialists of America-backed candidates in New York and campaigned with Michigan Senate candidate Abdullah Sayed, drawing criticism from two other Democrats in the race. Mick Morrow said Piker is somebody who says extremely offensive things in order to generate clicks and views and followers, which is not entirely different from somebody like Nick Fuentes, a far-right influencer or white supremacist. I love that they posted a photo of me and AOC right underneath that statement, by the way, immediately destroying the fucking counter narrative. Cheesegate not mentioned, thank God. While some on the Democratic Party have appeared on Piker's stream, others have said they wouldn't join him. I think that it's essential that candidates go on to have conversations. First of all, I have a question. If you're going to write an entire article about me, why the fuck won't you ask me for comment? What kind of fucking journalism is this? Hope Carnop? Shame on you. Okay? Fucking shame on you. Shame on the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel too. How is this good journalism? I hope you got $7,000 from the Israeli Knesset to be able to write such a fucking idiotic hit piece. What the fuck is this? What is this? You're not going to ask me for comment? You're not going to ask me for comment at all? The fuck is this shit? Look, there are certain outlets that I'm not going to fucking respond to, right? Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, I would have gladly fucking responded to. Anyway, look at the sequence of fucking losers, the graveyard of political campaigns that we have led that have openly criticized Hassan Piker. Like, suck my dick. Hong is among the 6 Democrats still competing for the nomination in the August 11th primary. Yeah. Hope Carnop can be reached out at hcarnop at usatodayco.com. Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, this is an unbelievable hit piece, dude. At a critical moment when local news is more important than ever, this is how you choose to utilize your limited resources. Anyway, it's a tiny newspaper, but it's still good to show them a little bit of fucking criticism for doing this kind of thing, because it's like it's disgusting. What they did is like so silly. Same author, but with a puff piece for Hong's opponent. Yeah, who is Andy Mansky, the other Republican running for governor? Yeah, profile piece by Hope Carnop, same fucking outlet. Seems to me like we know exactly which direction she's heading. I just think it's deeply unethical to do stuff like this. Florida AFL, like I'm saying this as someone who's very clearly not a part of, I'm an independent media personality. I'm a political commentator. I let my biases be known. I obviously stump for campaigns. It's very different than like what a objective newspaper is supposed to do. But I care quite a bit about making sure that we have reliable, objective news reporting at a time when it is critical, okay? It is the last bastion of defending democracy. I know we're going to talk about Florida AFL-CIO refusing to endorse Moskowitz and the only incumbent Dem in the state they didn't endorse. I feel the Larkin motion. I know we're going to talk about it. Yeah, like they added statements that Mallory McMorrow herself then backtracked on. It's just the same fucking copy pasta article over and over again. It's disgusting. It's nasty. I expect that from fucking dumbass slop tubers on the internet. I don't expect that from local newspapers. Okay? I don't expect that from local news media. Even the New York Post, before they write a hit piece, will reach out for a comment. You know? Even they abide by that standard. You can't be worse than the fucking New York Post, man. You can't be worse than the motherfucking New York Post. Nasty. Anyway, Economist and YouGov polled from 626 to 629. Do you have a favorable opinion on socialism? 36% said favorable, 44% said unfavorable. By party, net favorability for Democrats is plus 47, independents at minus 4. Would you ever vote for a candidate who identified as a democratic socialist? No at 47, yes at 33. Fantastic. It's growing. This is good. This is momentum, okay? A couple years ago, these numbers would not be anywhere near they are. This is great. And the more victories that we put on the board, the more we associate good governance with democratic socialism, the more Zoran gets W's, the more Claire Valdez gets W's once she's in Congress. Same with Daria Liza. Same with all of these other people. The more that momentum builds, the more these numbers will dramatically shift. Okay? For the longest time, people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib were basically out there on their own, okay? For the longest time, it was Bernie Sanders and a handful of other people that were either associated with the DSA or were self-identified Democratic Socialists who didn't even, openly say that they were Democratic Socialists. We're putting numbers up at this point, okay? It's very clear that there is a movement building here. And the more it becomes an undeniable force in American politics, the more that we can be loud and proud in our advocacy for things that pertain to people's material conditions and improving said material conditions, the more we show the rest of the country that democratic socialism means centering the needs of the working class above the needs of corporations, the more those numbers will grow. I feel more confident than ever before, okay? This is also part of the reason why the electoral route has always been incredibly important, okay? This is why it's always been an incredibly important route. We have to exhaust all available options, and one of the most viable routes there is electoralism. This is precisely why I've been doing what I've been doing, okay? Can we watch this sick DSA edit? Oh, yeah, I love this DSA edit. I fucking reposted this on TikTok. It's so fire.
The DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America. Okay, here's just a sample of what they're about. Abolish the Electoral College, replace the two-party system with a multi-party democracy, implement proportional representation and ranked choice voting in all elections, establish public ownership of the largest corporations and essential industries to ensure democratic control and accountability to the people, end all military and economic aid to Israel. It sounds so...
Aura.
NBA block 'em out of the phone.
It's so funny. Wow, I love those ideas. Who was that guy? A Democrat? Yeah, a Democratic Socialist, right? He knows all this sounds good, so he has to try to say it sarcastically. No, it's awesome. They're like, these socialists want more democracy. Who would want that? It's like, yeah, man. I think even people in your cult would look at that and go, that sounds pretty fucking good to me. That Milwaukee local politician that thinks he's him. Okay, first of all, he is not Timothy Anthony, okay? He is not Timothy Charlemagne. And by Timothy Charlemagne, I, of course, mean Danville, VA, Councilman Dr. Gary Miller, folks. Dr. Gary Miller is that guy. Other people follow his lead. Zoran Kwame Mamdani follows the lead of this man and can't even get a fraction of the aura that the good doctor has in his fucking pinky finger.
This is Dr. Gary Miller. We're here on Kemper Road where we're installing 1,600 feet of brand new sidewalk. When you think about public safety, the first thing that comes to your mind may not be sidewalks, but there are many neighborhoods in Danville that don't have a sidewalk.
Tell him,
What happened here?
What happened here, Unc? Unc, talk to him. Talk to him about the sidewalks, baby. Walkability is important. What happened here? He walked with a lean. Yeah. That's Unc. Hasanabi type pants. Oh, shut up.
Sidewalk represents public safety. It's the crosswalk a senior uses to get to the grocery store. It's the path a child walks to school, or the way a neighbor rolls a wheelchair. A street with a sidewalk is a safer street and a healthier neighborhood. That's why I made a promise in 2022 to bring sidewalks back to Danville. And I'm proud to say that it's finally happening. This neighborhood isn't the River District, and it's not the casino, but the people that live...
Yeah, I heard Zoran's cam up, Donald, was the one who filmed this. Donald went down to Danville, Virginia to film this campaign ad.
live here matter just as much. That's why I want to ensure that we use Danville tax dollars to help the people who live in Danville. I'm Dr. Gary Miller, and I'd be proud to have your vote on November 3rd.
Dude, that is my goat, okay? That is my legend. That is my goat. I love him. The fact that he has pulled his pants all the way up to his titties, this is a man who is unafraid to make bold fashion choices, bold declarative fashion statements, okay? Under Armour polo golf t-shirt tucked all the way down. Zoran getting praised by Republicans?
Some strange bedfellows for Mamdani. He's getting his flowers all over conservative media. Play the clip.
I know tons of Republicans who are actually operatives within the party who were saying they couldn't wait to make him the face of the Democrat Party. And they thought that would be very good for Republicans. Depends on where you are. Because in New York, he's a hero. I mean, he's becoming extremely strong and formidable as a kingmaker.
There's a kingmaker tonight, and that's the mayor. The Mayor Mamdani is not only a kingmaker, but a queenmaker as well, because he backed two women who were going to go to Congress.
Mamdani's forces, by going door to door, took down some big players, including AIPAC.
Remember, Jen, how just a year ago, the establishment was like, every single piece of Republican mail this fall in 2026 is going to have photos of Zoran, and they're going to be terrifying.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Let them do that. Okay? Let them fucking do that. Let them try. Do you know how galvanizing it will be for every other candidate to get the automatic Zoran nod without even getting the Zoran nod? Because those policies and that success is nonpartisan. Okay? It's not partisan. Universal child care is not a partisan issue. If you want to make that a partisan issue as a Republican, go right the fuck ahead. Okay? I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to hold you. Do that, please. Please talk about how horrible it is that the local DSA equivalent, the local Democratic Socialist equivalent, is going to be just like Zoran Mamdani. He's going to fight for universal child care. He's going to fight for better public transit. Okay? You think that's going to be bad? Are you insane? No, the beauty of this is, and I said this in my speech at the New York City DSA Slate rally, if you remember. I said, our job isn't just to, advance Zoran's agenda. That's important because that agenda is obviously good for New Yorkers. It's good for the movement. But I see my job as making Zoran Mamdani unremarkable. Okay? Because we're going to elect 1 million Zorans, okay? We're going to elect thousands of Zorans. And when I say thousands of Zorans, I'm talking like local, city, state, Senate. So much so that we're going to be like, yeah, this is just normal. This is what good politics looks like. We're going to make it so that people will be afraid to admit that they voted Republican ever again in polite company. Okay? They're going to be like, what? Of course I didn't vote Republican. What are you talking about? Of course I voted for the agenda of the working class. Okay? Democratically organized one-party state. We'll get there. How'd you get a glass of reflecting pool water? It's delicious. I'm drinking the Washington, D.C. reflecting pool water. Can I do a shout out to Medicare, which everyone should have, for paying my 83-year-old dad's triple bypass, which he's recovering well from? Let's go. Medical science rules. Hell yeah. Hell yeah to medicine. Hell yeah to Medicare. His freedom flavored pool water. Anyway.
Terrifying voters. Fox News has told their anchors to stop talking about Zoran because he is too popular. They can't find a photo of him not smiling.
He is hyper disciplined. I'll give him that. And it's paying dividends. Hopefully now he'll be a little bit more confident to be even more bold. But he's been unbelievably responsive to the DSA. Okay? He's been so good. He is, God damn it, dude. Look, I don't want to glaze the man too much, but he has been so fucking good. I mean, look, yesterday I was talking about how he, there's plans in motion to hire 600 new NYPD officers, right? That goes against a core campaign promise. Groundwork came out and openly criticized them for it, openly pressured them from the outside for it. Okay? Guess what Zoran did today? Shook hands with Menin. New budget for New York City. No new NYPD hires. Okay? Promises made, promises kept. That's it. That's it. That's huge. Okay? That's huge. That is responsive democratic politics. And I mean small d democracy. Okay? You didn't forget the people that brought you to the ball. Okay? You didn't forget your voters. You didn't forget your constituents. You didn't forget those who voted for you to implement this agenda. And he's burning through it. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. I cannot sing his praises enough. I hope that one day this will be unremarkable. One day we'll look at this and we'll go, bare minimum. Duh. Of course a politician is going to listen to the demands of their voters. This is how it's always been done. But today is not that day. Okay? That's why I always say it was Emerge. Okay, Emerge 2. Oh my God. It was all of DSA, okay? Inside outside pressure. Sorry for not giving Emerge's proper credit. Oh my God. Anytime I say something about DSA now, people get really mad internally in the organization. Not internally, but like they tweet about it and they're like, this guy doesn't know anything about. This guy doesn't know anything about fucking what's going on internally. I apologize. Okay? It's because Groundworks gave me Labubu beanies, and that's why I keep repping Groundwork. Okay? But no caucus warfare here. I'm not even affiliated with the DSA. I don't even know what it is. Okay? Shh. It's fine. I apologize. I apologize for getting into the caucuses. Okay? You're all beautiful. You're all doing important work, more important work than I ever could be. It's just because you're not a part of the DSA. Yeah, I'm just the outside guy. I don't, unlike Stu Smith of the Manhattan Institute, I don't know what the fuck's going on inside of the DSA, okay? The only DSA I know is the Dick Sucking Association, okay? Which I am a part of. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I follow Stu for DSA. I followed Stu for DSA News. Huge hog drama in the Dodern campaign lock-in. Anyway, going back to Zoran Mamdani's campaign promise, it was a key campaign promise here. Zoran Mamdani says NYPD PC Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch agreed with him that additional NYPD headcount wasn't necessary, so it got cut. This saves dollars and also helps Mamdani politically. Raising headcount is one of the few areas in which New York City DSA publicly distanced themselves from him. Okay? Sally, you actually believe this? Exactly. Helps him politically versus the safety of New York City. Dog, murders are fucking down to historic levels. What are you talking about? Have you ever been to New York City, or are you chirping from outside of New York City? It is one of the copped up places I've ever been to in my whole damn life. When I went to Madison Square Garden, there were more cops than there were people who were trying to attend the game. The fuck do you mean? There are plenty of fucking cops in New York City, man. Dog, what are you talking about? Chiming in from fucking Nebraska. Oh, this is the retired, never mind. New York City Mayor, Chell, John M. Chell, NYPD Chief of Department, retired, trusted New York City voice. Yeah, my mistake. He's not chirping from Nebraska. He's chirping from the Nebraska of New York City, which is Staten fucking Island. Okay? My apologies. Yeah, look at these fucking nasty little freaks, dude. Look at these nasty little freaks. Here are the 22 Democrats who voted with Republicans to protect Trump's ability to get militarily involved in Lebanon. We're coming after them too. Just wait, dude. Gottheimer. Just wait. Your time is limited. I hope you know that. Yeah. Torres didn't vote against Tlaib's WPR. Hey, this is why a little bit of that kayfabe matters, okay? Richie boy, okay? Richie knows. Richie knows which way the winds are blowing, okay? Maybe Gottheimer and Moskowitz haven't figured it out. Schneider is another one who fucking called me out and said I was a terrorist. Swozy is another one that is like famously unbelievably annoying. Hoyer is another. Latimer, Hoyer, these are some of the worst Democrats we have. It's awesome that they just like openly will reveal themselves in votes like this. Okay, obviously Henry Cuellar, not even going to get into it. Henry Cuellar was such a major disappointment. Almost unseated Henry Cuellar. Shouts out to Nancy Pelosi for really pushing for that one. Why does Suozzi get so much fucking NPR airtime? Yeah. Anyway, interesting to see some of the reactions in this hit piece from other Democratic candidates. Rodriguez, no comment. Barnes, no comment. Crowley with a statement. Yeah, you want to know why these guys made no comment, by the way? Even Rodriguez giving no comment to this hit piece is very interesting. You want to know why it's very interesting? Because they all saw what happened to Mallory McMorrow, and they don't want it replicated in Wisconsin. Okay? Crowley, on the other hand, doesn't give a shit, obviously. I'm open to all reasonable, pragmatic conversations about how to move our state forward. But Hassan Piker's statements are beyond the pale. I'm a megaphone for your voters. I'm a megaphone for where the moral center of this party is, okay? You can try to pick apart choice quotes and highlight the salience of choice quotes, but most people understand this kind of stuff is over. This kind of politicking is over, okay? And thank God it is. The idea that you could identify my worldview by 4 or 5 choice quotes that the ADL has plastered all around the fucking country in every goddamn newspaper, in every goddamn newsroom, and that most people don't understand exactly what's going on here means that you're not up to where the rest of the fucking voters are. Okay? They know what time it is, and plenty of these other people running in the Democratic primary know what time it is. Wayne County, Detroit, Michigan, Democratic Black Caucus endorses Abdul El-Sayed for U.S. Senate in Michigan. My boy is cooking, dude. Holy shit. Wisconsin Democrats, for the love of God, do not do this. To think last year around this time you were interviewing some little-known Muslim state assembly member for Astoria, literally only a year ago. And now that same guy's the mayor of New York City is considered a kingmaker. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit before this moment. It was, February. It was end of February, beginning of April. But yeah. Isn't that crazy? How much things can change, especially if there is an organization that is ready to meet the moment. For years and years, I have I've rode the DSA dick, okay, to many criticisms from naysayers, okay. Some dicks are deserved to be rode, okay. Some dicks, they deserve to be rode. And then in the moment of glory, he cries, we cry, we crowed, okay. For years and years, I've been talking about the Democratic Socialists of America. Go join the DSA. It's great. They're doing the work. Through all of those minor victories and major defeats, they learned very valuable lessons. And when the opportunity is here, when there is genuine potential to make significant changes in American politics, which is just the beginning, by the way, make no mistake, this is just the beginning. They were there to seize on that opportunity. Revolution doesn't happen spontaneously, folks. You have to be diligent in your organizing. Okay? How are you an official mainstream broadcaster saying shit like this? This is precisely the reason why I'm an official mainstream broadcaster. Anyway, Crowley is supported by the MK Bucks owner whose wife was posting AI-generated genocide apology on Facebook after October 7th. She was also on the board of the Planned Parenthood Action Network or something. I think his campaign wants to be selected as the candidate for the conservative Dems to rally around. Good. Split the vote with Rodriguez. I like that. Her announcement on going on your stream is filled with the worst replies imaginable, like Bennett and Neera Tanden. Yeah, there is a lot of... Why did you not rule out Hassan Piker raising money for you due to him calling Jewish man a bloodthirsty? That didn't happen, okay? I did not call a Jewish man a bloodthirsty pig dog, okay? Shut the fuck up. The game of telephone has gotten so completely out of control. Holy shit. God, these guys are fucking hysterical. They're unbelievably hysterical. All they got is just crying. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to spread misinformation. Oh my God, I'm going to yell about a guy who has a bigger platform than I do, who has spent his entire fucking career advocating against anti-Semitism. Oh my God. It doesn't work, man. This is not for anybody. And the inverse of the story is that at this point, they've designed a media environment where people being called an anti-Semite offers them more legitimacy. It's not a media environment that I am comfortable being in. It's something that I've opposed. It's something that I've actually argued against. But you have designed this universe now. Jesse McBride is obsessing over you. Yeah. Yeah, just plastered this everywhere these guys say this shit. There's like plenty of supercuts of me consistently advocating against anti-Semitism. We just have to be an undeniable force, okay? That's it. And we are getting there. The IRL equivalent of posting in LSF, literally fucking useless. My farts have more contribution to this planet than whatever this third way is doing with the Hassan Piker problem. Yeah. Hassan, can you please make a trip to the fair? The 11 a.m. Tuesday time slot is at the Great American State Fair is apparently not the most fruitful, as there are more musicians in the band than there are spectators. The band, consisting of young musicians, including a hell of a brass section, was quite good. Banger, banger. Banger, 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 banger. That's goated. You can't see them, but there are millions of Americans there in spirit, okay? What is this? They killed him. They killed him for being a white patriot attending the quincentennial Great American State Fair. Yeah, you're laughing. You're laughing. A great white patriot attending the semi-quincentennial Great American State Fair was killed just for attending the semi-quincentennial Great American State Fair while being white. And you're laughing. R.I.P. Grandpa. R.I.P. Grandpa. Why did he die? Yup, you guessed it, for being white while also attending the quincentennial Great American State Fair, celebrating the 250th birthday of the United States of America, 1776. Oh, look at that. Tomorrow they're talking assumptions about turning 30. Let's go. I'm glad I have my Gen Z representation of 23-year-olds. Chance there as well. Yeah. I can't believe they also painted the lawn American flag blue. That's right. Everything is blue. Everything is blue. Anyway, we glazed up Zoran up and down. This is also very funny. Neera Tanden, responding to Dan Pfeiffer's statement. For all the talk of Plattner's vulnerabilities, Collins has one that is bigger than any of Plattner's. A majority of Maine voters and 57% of independents said they worry Collins would be too supportive of Trump, and 54% want Dems to control the Senate. This is why I say attacking Collins as the linchpin for the Trump agenda is the way for Plattner to succeed, not attacking Dems in factional fights. Neera Tanden is arguing that a Democrat should focus on fighting Trump rather than factional fights. I'm kind of speechless. It's amazing. Neera Tanden literally saying Plattner shouldn't do what I've been doing to Plattner, which he hasn't been doing anyway. He has had an unbelievably issue-focused, issue-specific campaign. He talks about Medicare for all. He talks about ending all these unnecessary wars. He talks about how Trump has contributed to that, and Susan Collins has gone along with that agenda every single day. Meanwhile, anything that Neera Tanden has talked about on behalf of that fucking particular race is how Graham Plattner is a monster and the woke Bernie-crats totally fucked this race up, and that someone like Graham Plattner could never get elected in a state like Maine against Susan Collins, and they fucked up. Why are they saying this? Because their candidates have failed to unseat Susan Collins. And I'm telling you right now, sincerely, 100%, people like Neera Tanden would much rather lose the majority in the Senate, okay? Would rather allow the Republicans to continue maintaining their majority in the Senate than have their priors be disproven, that all of their previous candidates that they ran, the wishy-washy centrist establishment Democrat candidates that they ran over and over again that couldn't unseat Susan Collins, the method of only moderates win in unseating red seats, they would much rather prove that point, okay, even though they've never proven that point, ironically enough, because they failed every single time. But this would be such a major counter. This would be proof that you can run Bernie-crats and left populists in states where they're, competitive against, in states that are competitive against a Republican senator. It's huge, man. It's fucking huge. Doesn't everyone hate the establishment Democrats, so fighting them is popular everywhere? Yes. Anyway.
Joining me now to
Abdullah Syed is being asked about me again. That's so fucking crazy. I can't believe that they're still doing this shit, bro. This was already established, big dog. What are we doing? Anyway, yeah. First, let's do the lever. I'll probably see David Sirota, I think, later tonight, hopefully. David Sirota interviewed Abdul and asked them about Carville and Harrison Jamie and other elites attacking the insurgent Dems.
Carville this week said that people running insurgent candidacies, this is his quote, hate Democrats. You had former DNC chair Jamie Harrison said that, this was his quote, if you hate the Democratic Party, please don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers. Don't use our infrastructure. Don't ask Democrats to invest their time, money, and energy in your campaign. Now, those comments were not directed at you, but they're directed at kind of anti-establishment candidates who are running without the blessing of their party. I want to know your response to that, and also a related question. Do you think if you are successful in this primary and this general, it changes the entire vision or the entire possibility of how to win in a swing state in a way that disrupts the formula of the people who are apparently so angry at insurgent candidacies?
Correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of democracy is that it centers people rather than party elites. And I think the mistake that our party too often makes is we center party elites and not people. I've been traveling up and down my state, having conversations with folks, and they're telling me what they need and want. And what they need and want is a government that's not bought off by big corporations. What they need and want is union representation at work. What they need and want is to be able to afford their groceries and their housing and their health care. What they need and want is for government to stop being tyrannical and to spend its money rather than fighting wars or paying thugs to be on your street, $252 billion. They need it to actually answer their problems for them. If the Democratic Party wants to be viable and wants to win, then we would do well to listen to those people. And all I'm doing is listening to those people and trying to deliver on what it is that they need and want. So the Democratic Party is not a bunch of elites in DC. The Democratic Party are the voters who want to make the Democratic Party what they want to make it. Now, if the voters in Michigan choose to nominate and then the people of the state of Michigan choose to elect me as their senator, I think we are proving out a very different hypothesis that, I'll be honest with you, a lot of the party elites don't want proven out. They don't even want it tested. Their fear about me is not that I'll lose. Poll after poll is showing that I'm the most viable candidate in the general election. It's the fear that I will win. And what that means for the kind of changes that we have to bring forward in our party. But again, democracy is not about the people in power.
Why do you think they fear it?
Because I'm running in direct opposition to a system of politics that tells us that it's okay to take corporate lobbyist checks, to do corporate lobbyist bidding, to make the problems that people are complaining about worse while telling them that we're going to try and make it better. And I don't play games. And to be honest, I'm just not afraid. I'm not afraid of losing, but I desperately, desperately want Michiganders to win. And I think that's what they're afraid of. This game that we play not to lose, where we whittle our message down to the least common denominator that's acceptable to a corporate PAC and acceptable to the voters, and then wonder why the voters don't come out. That bullshit has to be over.
Yeah, but if I would just ask, if they're Democratic elites, if they're Democratic power brokers, Democratic Party bosses, presumably they want the Democratic Party to win. And yet you're saying that they fear a candidacy like yours. What I'm getting at is there a corruption underneath there?
There's a cynicism about what...
As I've said over and over again, they do not... I said this with Zohran Mamdani. I said this over and over again. They do not fear that Zohran Mamdani would potentially win and then fail, and then that failure would carry over to the rest of the party, that the Republicans would make an example out of the Democrats. Democrats feared that Zohran Mamdani would win and succeed. And then they, too, would have to face the very same demands. Why can't you be like him? Why can't we have candidates exactly like Zohran that is more responsive to our needs? Their entire theory for maintaining power revolves around being slaves to corporations, placing the interests of corporations and the super wealthy above your interests. Every single victory for democratic socialism, every single victory for left populist candidates destroys that narrative. Every single popular initiative advanced by self-identifying democratic socialists or left populists chips away at this completely faulty argument that has been presented and reinforced by corporate-backed mainstream media outlets in perpetuity. The idea that pivoting to the moderate center to win over these mythical moderate voters that say, yeah, we got to keep giving money to Israel. We got to keep bombing other countries. We shouldn't spend that money on ourselves, is a lie. That narrative is a lie, and it's being disproven with each and individual electoral victory, and it will continue to be proven once those democratic socialists turn around and actually abide by an agenda that centers the working class, that puts the working class's needs above the needs of corporations and the super wealthy. That's it.
Being a Democratic Party elite is that you want to keep being invited to the cocktail parties. You keep wanting to be an important person. You know, and in some respects, like, we're all being held hostage to a group of people who are self-important because of their positioning in a party. And, you know, I don't care to be invited to cocktail parties. Like, DC, don't invite me to the cocktail parties. I'm not coming anyway. I care that people in Michigan have healthcare. I care that people in Michigan have unions. I care that people in Michigan can live a dignified life and that they look at their kids and say, your life is going to be better than mine. That's what I care about. So I think I'm going to upset the apple cart on the cynical game that is too often played at the top of our party. And that's not because I hate Democrats. That's because I love the people that Democrats are intended to serve. This party is a vessel. Question is, who do we serve? You know, the party doesn't need to exist on its own terms. If it exists, it should be serving people. That's what it exists to do. So, you know, I would imagine that, like, I'm a threat to your continued proximity to power. And if you don't like that, come and try and beat us. And they already are, right? The tens of millions that they're spending, come and try and beat us. But it turns out that you actually have to win elections. And, you know, your tens of millions lying to people about different people's records, like, okay, you know, if you still think that can work, good luck to you.
Great video. Anyway, Abdul was asked, Forbes, breaking news on CNN. Abdul was asked about campaigning with me, which is crazy. Again, CNN, another outlet that is expected to you know, be in the fucking moderate lane, at least the liberal lane, right? Nope, not even a little bit. Especially with the imminent Ellison purchase, CNN knows how to appease the new bosses, and in some ways, CNN, unfortunately, is the same as the old bosses in some respects.
To discuss Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, he is running for the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate in Michigan. Thank you so much for being here. We had one of your opponents on last week, so I'm glad you could come in. First, can we talk about the S word, as Carville describes it?
You know, it's funny because isn't he the guy who said it's the economy stupid? I think that's the S word we should be talking about. It is the economy. If you go to Michigan, if you go to New York, if you go anywhere in the country, people are frustrated because
the audio is so scuffed.
Afford the basic means of a dignified life. The fact that the Democrats have not delivered on those issues, the fact that people feel like both sides of our politics are not listening, that's why you're seeing a lot of these candidates who are speaking differently about that economy winning.
Isn't his argument that it's not the economy part he disagrees with, it's everything else? It's the things we spoke about earlier, policy about Israel and how whether or not to support that government in its operations. Maybe it's around billions.
This is unbelievable, dude. The audio was both peaking and also quiet at the same time. I don't even understand what to make of this, okay?
millionaire taxes. They have substantive questions and concerns about the democratic socialist position.
I think one of the frustrations, and look, the real red scare we should be talking about is that Donald Trump is still president. Donald Trump is still doing things like taking us to wars we shouldn't be fighting. But I do want to step back, and we do this thing of dissecting our politics as if all the things are not related, that you can talk about foreign policy, but you don't have to relate that to economy. Every dollar we send abroad to drop a bomb on another kid is a dollar we don't spend here to invest in your kid's school or your health care. The reason that our economy is rigged so that we have a trillionaire and the average person that can't afford their basic life is because we have an economy where we've allowed big corporations to buy and sell politicians to rig the system against
So
us.
you're ready to talk economy without being accused of being a communist, or you're basically like those labels don't matter anymore?
Well, number one, I think people look askance when folks from DC call other people communists, because we've heard that play run I don't know how many times. But the second point about that is I just think it's important that we don't center parties in our politics. We center the people who vote for parties and vote in our politics. And I think the problem is that we're having this debate about where the party is going, but we're not actually talking about where people's lives are going. And the politicians, the politics, that speaks to the lived experience of the average person, that actually talks about how do we put money back in your pocket? How do we break the vice grip that corporations have on our politics? How do we make sure that you have health care? That's the kind of politics that's going to win. So if you don't like where the party is going, then run an alternative that's actually going to address people's issues. But so long as you're having this nagging debate about where the party is going from your comfortable home and wherever it is, I just think you're missing the point, because too many people are uncomfortable in their homes or don't have a home in the first
So
place.
your opponent, Mallory McMorrow, was on our show last week, as I mentioned. She was criticizing your decision to embrace the support of streamer Hassan Piker to represent your campaign. And what she said was very specific, that she goes, look, I have a problem with him embracing this person in the wake of an attack on a synagogue. This is when a truck was driven into the synagogue. I want to play for you.
That's one of the most insane, like, that was such a heinous thing to do. I can't believe that, like, I cannot believe that we have no intellectual or editorial standards at this point, even at fucking CNN, that, like, that is presented as a sincere line of attack against Abdul al-Sayed and myself, and isn't, like, automatically disqualifying for directly associating a Muslim commentator and a Muslim candidate running for Senate with a fucking heinous act of terror that both myself and Abdullah immediately fucking disavowed. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's just so insane. This is like post 9/11 shit. Like, she's operating like it's 2001. What's next? Mallory McMorrow, running for the state of Michigan, decides you can't have a mosque anywhere near Ground Zero. Is that where we're going back to? Jesus Christ.
What she said after that.
I condemn the Temple of Israel attack immediately. Any act of anti-Semitism is wrong and has no place in our politics, no place in our society. But I think what people find frustrating by that perspective is that when you talk about the mass killing of children, we saw that done by our tax dollars in a genocide in Gaza. And it took, 2 years to talk about that. And I think we have to take seriously the idea that the money that we spent to kill other people's kids there was money that we did not spend to take care of the kids that I was taking care of in Wayne County and Detroit.
So no answer about this embrace of him. Do you think people are making too much or too little about this?
Look, it's a pretty crazy thing. So Hassan Piker was invited to stream from the DNC in 2024. We had a whole debate about whether or not the vice president should have gone on Rogan. The idea that we're going to tie people together and say, well, guilt by association, is just not in keeping with the way most of us think about the world. I'm sitting on a panel with a very diverse group of people. Did I vet all of you before I came and sat here because one of you might have said something I disagree with? I just think it's a ridiculous way to
But
think
you're
about
running
politics.
for office, which is why you're in the hot seat.
Well, I'm happy to be in the hot seat, but let me just
But this is why you're being vetted. I want to raise something. You used the word genocide.
Yeah, this is not vetting. It's a smear.
This is the kind of thing that people point to over.
You're not even guilty. I'm losing my mind. Not only am I not in any way, shape, or form connected to this thing, I also immediately condemned it. Like, that's what's so insane about it, is like the real condemnable behavior is this false association is this unbelievably false association that is a heinous and, dare I say, racist fucking smear.
Over and over again as a problem for a party that is trying to zip up its big tent. The Detroit Free Press editorial board just endorsed Mallory McMorrow and said that you are running a divisive campaign, casting your opponents as morally compromised.
I think if you've taken money from the people who caused the problems in your life and then come and tell people, hey, we're going to solve your problems, that's just inconsistent with being serious about solving problems. Now, if that's divisive, I think we need to have hard conversations in our party. I think we need to be talking about who's actually there to solve problems for you. If you're not serious about not taking money from the utility company as people's rates are going up, if you're not serious about not taking money from the health insurance corporations who just raised your premiums 15% and putting millions of people in bankruptcy, I'm so sorry.
Brendan Lee Mulligan said the exact same thing you've been talking about in the
Let's
primary.
talk for a second about the National Democratic Party and their response. Jamie Harrison saying, if you don't like Democrats, if you just hate Democrats, don't run or don't vote. And that is a bizarre thing to say when the approval rating for the Democratic Party among Democrats is like 20%. I don't know the number. It's well below 50.
It's very telling because what's the fundamental thing that always gets said as the approach of a general election comes along is like, you owe us your vote because of how bad it will be to not vote for us. And participating in primaries and primary incumbents is the way that people guarantee they will come with you.
What? Bless Abdul's heart. He's ready to throw you under the bus and I'm here for it. He's not throwing me under the bus, dude. What the fuck are you guys talking about? You guys are crazy. He quite literally did not do that and has not done that. And that's precisely the reason why he actually gained a tremendous amount of momentum as a consequence of that. Also, it's kind of like Zoran. It's not dissimilar to the Zoran equation, right? Zoran Mamdani is a Muslim socialist. Abdul is also Muslim. Anything that they say about me, they can say and do say about both Zoran and Abdul. It doesn't matter how airtight your messaging is. They know that reality, right? They understand that reality, which is why they can't even turn around and be like, yeah, I disavow Hassan. One, because it makes them look weak regardless. And two, if they did that, then that looks bad on them too, because then you're basically disavowing yourself. I think the point there, like what doesn't work there, is like they have to deflect away from even getting into that conversation and nitty gritty, because then the conversation turns into defending me. Okay, I don't expect anyone to do that. I don't even expect Abdul to do that. I don't expect Zoran to do that. I expect them to just go, this is stupid, this is irrelevant, because I am irrelevant, right? I should never be the major point of contention in a Senate race. Okay? Refocus the conversation back to the issues. Talk about how silly it is that you want someone to consistently get their lashings for cooperating and collaborating with a Twitch streamer. It's ridiculous. I'm here to talk about healthcare. I'm here to talk about how I'm going to serve the people of Michigan. That's what you're supposed to do, which is what he's doing expertly. When he says, look, I talk to people, some of the ideas I agree with, some of them I don't agree with. But that's the point of serving a broad coalition. Okay? That's it. And he's doing that expertly. You guys need to understand. People are getting too paradoxical. Abdul's not obligated to defend you at every step of law. No. You mean parasocial. No, he's doing the right thing. He's doing the exact same thing that you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to go, why the fuck would I care about this? Like, yeah, I don't agree with everything. Do you agree with your wife on everything? Do you agree with your husband on everything? No, you don't. Okay? I don't agree with a lot of the things that CNN has said. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Fox News said. I'm here, aren't I? Do you understand? It's a catch-all for... I'm a placeholder. I'm a placeholder for the enmity, the well-deserved enmity that a lot of people harbor against the nation state of Israel, right? I am a way for mainstream outlets to say, if you hate Israel, you are going to be judged in the exact same way by like choice quotes that we found that we will smear you with endlessly. Okay? There are two ways out of that. You either sit down and you discuss piece by piece each and every single quote over and over again, like I am forced to do at times. Okay? Or you say, sorry, this is not significant in this race, and it shouldn't be significant. You're being ridiculous. Let's move on to the actual issues, which they do. Look, as soon as he says, like, look, I don't agree with everything that Hassan has said, but who cares? They move on to the real bread and butter. They move on to the real issue, which is Israel's genocide. She did that. She immediately moved on to Israel's genocide and said, well, the Detroit Free Press has said that you're, using Israel's genocide as a moral standard and tarnishing your opponents for not having a principled stance. It's a good thing you're not in any way associated with the DSA in any official capacity, or they'll probably start using you as the face of the DSA. That would sure be silly. I mean, they already do that, but that's not a problem because there's people who are even more radical than I am in the Democratic Socialists of America. Let's be real. But none of that matters at the end of the day. You know what matters? What policies you will deliver for people, okay? There is never going to be an honest fight. I need you all to understand this, and I never expected there to be an honest fight. There are certain standards that even I assume mainstream outlets won't, destroy in an effort to tarnish this movement. They have done so. But I never expected this. I have never expected this not to be a significant fight. Of course, it's going to be a major battle. Why would entrenched power give up the sweet deal that they have where they sit around and let lobbyists write the legislation and collect checks and send their next of kin, send their children to these corporations to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in no-show jobs? Why would they let that go? Why would they ever throw that away? That's a sweet bargain for them. The problem is that's horrible for you. Now, all of you in this community obviously understand that great design, right? Our job is now to communicate that to everybody else who's oblivious to this reality, okay? And that's precisely the reason why so many people are terrified of this movement. Do you understand? Of course, entrenched power is never going to fucking concede without demands and concede without equal and even force. Of course it's not going to happen. They're never going to give us a mandate. We have to build that mandate. Okay? They're never going to give us a time of day. And the more this movement grows, the more there's momentum on our side, the more they're going to attack with heinous smears over and over again. The beauty of it all is that in the new, unbelievably diverse media environment, they can't just get away with smearing people, right? 10 years ago, if this barrage of mainstream outlets and their smear campaign was targeting someone like myself, I'd be fucked because I would not have a competitive platform. I would not have a large enough platform to show people what the truth actually is. Not just the truth about what I represent, not just the truth about what this movement represents. It would be over. But we have the opportunity to fight back. And a big part of that is because of you. Okay? Because you come in here, you watch, you show support, you subscribe, you tell your friends. Okay? And then when directed, you go out and you phone bank for candidates. When directed, you go out and door knock for candidates that deserve it. We're all in this together. You're an incredibly important part of this movement. We don't have the money, but we have the organizational capacity. We have the actual investment, the people investment. This is a people-backed movement. It doesn't work. There is no consolidated power out there that's going to dump. Consolidated power out there that's going to, who the fuck are you again? Where am I? You okay, chatter? Yeah. They got the money, but we got the people. Remember that. We have the momentum. We have the people. We can be intense. We must be disciplined. We must organize. And we must out-organize the moneyed interests every single time. And we will continue to do so. And I hope we can do that here in Colorado today. Okay, for Maylock Quiros and for Julie Gonzalez as well. Now, the Julie Gonzalez race is going to be a lot more difficult. Okay, it's a Senate race. It's obviously the entire state. She's been backed by Bernie Sanders. There's less than 7 hours left to phone bank for Maylott and Julie. Lock in chat and keep smiling and dialing. Obviously, as the race has gotten close, as Diana DeGette has gotten more and more worried, there's been a tremendous amount of outside expenditures coming into the race, flooding the markets with lies, with smears. They only have one speed. Diana DeGette, for the past 30 plus years, has presented herself as a progressive. And yet, she's been a backbencher this whole time. Okay? She's done nothing. She's been a backbencher that has also been an advocate for corporate interests in Congress. And that's precisely the reason why Big Pharma has always donated to her campaign. That's precisely the reason why. Now you got even APAC dumping money into the campaign, and APAC affiliates dumping money in the campaign. Raytheon, Amazon, all these major corporations are doing last-second ad purchases that smear Maylock Quiros. Our struggle is the same. The battle is always the same. All they have are heinous smears because they cannot stand on the policies that they've advanced. Okay? Do you understand? They can't stand on their track record. They can't stand on their policies. They can't stand on what they've delivered for the people of Denver, what they've delivered for the people of Colorado altogether. So all they can do is smear their opponents. And guess what? Negative ad spend like that does not draw voter turnout. It actually depresses voter turnout. So if we can go out and combat that wave of moneyed support, the negative ads that are flooding the TV markets for all the boomers in Denver to be fearful of a young lawyer, former barista, that's an anti-Zionist, that's anti-war, that's for Medicare for all, that's for housing for all, and a fantastic campaign with fantastic policies that center the working class. We got to be out there for her so she can fight for us. Okay?
Sorry, I don't think you're serious about solving the problems. If that makes me divisive, that's fine. But look, the American public is going to get to pick. The Michiganders are going to get to pick. And whether we're talking about the parties writ large or we're talking about our Michigan race, it's on people to get to decide. And this is just what I'm saying. This is not a conversation about parties. So long as we are missing the conversation about everyday people and why they are struggling in their lives, we are missing the point of democratic politics in the first place.
In Michigan, it's a really unique place because of the auto industry and because of an influx of immigrants. Lots of Latinos from South Texas.
I think I'm repeating myself, and I have an Abdul interview tomorrow that gets into this, but a big difference between now and 2018 is how robust new left media is and how old media has contracted. The insurgent candidates have big popular forums for their messaging. Going on cable for 5 minutes of, but do you reject and denounce Hassan Piker has lower return on investment. Yeah. I spend 90 minutes with a candidate, and we go through the nitty gritty of their policies. That's the difference between me and CNN, by the way. A lot of people will say, oh, Hassan, you're unserious. You show meat, right? I'm unserious. Motherfucker, I show meat, and then I spend 90 minutes talking about the minutia, talking about the details. Yesterday with Francesca Hong, there were moments where we were, cracking jokes, right? Doing a mukbang or whatever. But ultimately, it was 90 minutes of wall-to-wall coverage on policies and what she will deliver for the good people of Wisconsin. What the fuck is mainstream media doing? They never talk about this shit. They rarely ever talk about this stuff. Isn't that crazy? It's so topsy-turvy. You got a guy who is deeply unserious, jokes around, says crazy things from time to time that people take seriously, engages in hyperbole, spending far more time on the minutia and the nitty-gritty of policies and the platform of individual candidates and what they will do, rather than what you get on mainstream media, which is tabloid journalism. That's what's so crazy about the situation. The expectation is supposed to be the exact opposite. I'm supposed to be doing silliness with these candidates, right? How do we get here? Details of their policy platform, the 5 minutes they have trying to farm a soundbite. It's turned into, and most people aren't aware of it. Maylot went on CNN today, though. Okay, we'll do it. We'll do the Maylot one. Hold on. I'm saying, all jokes aside, I spend hours with these candidates talking about the details of their policy platform, whereas mainstream media spends the 5 minutes they have trying to farm a soundbite off of a gotcha. It's turned into what Jon Stewart represented during global war on terror, and most people are, and most boomers. Actually, I'm not gonna put the Jon Stewart thing in there. Never mind. I'm just gonna tweet it. The voters get to experience candidates as human beings when you interview them, which lends credibility to their policies they want to implement as resilient in the face of lobbyists and political machines once elected. Yes. Somewhere to live follow the Colorado 1 primary race tonight from Europe. Buddy, you're looking at it. I'm on the ground. I'm going to be directly involved as well. Fran Hong showed her culinary prowess with a food reaction yesterday, man. That was just evidence of her being an incredible chef. I've been around Michelin star chefs. They evaluate food completely different than normal people. Okay, dude. Listen. AOC's Israel amendments will not be brought to the floor. I know we're going to be talking about that in a second. Let's move on from the Abdul interview. Let's get
Appreciate
the
it.
Heroes. Panic as far-left socialist challenges Dem incumbent in the Colorado primary. That's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. You already know, okay? You already know. Fox News is freaking out. So are establishment Democrats.
Also happening today, Democrat socialist Malat Quiros taking on Colorado's most senior member of Congress, Diana DeGette, in the Democratic primary there. And Democrats are worried about another far left upset, with one House member saying, quote, I think it's quite likely DeGette will lose. Democratic leadership that ignores this does so at its own peril. Here's
Dude. Hakeem Jeffries came out and said Diana DeGette has had a long and extensive career. Hakeem Jeffries literally talked about Diana DeGette yesterday like her campaign was over. Like it was over. Diana DeGette, more like Diana DeGone. Bro spoke like she died. And the thing is, for Diana, I will say this. She's been in power and has failed to deliver for Colorado 1 for 3 decades. She won that seat when Maylot Quiros was born. Okay? Like, the honorable thing to do is to basically resign. It's so ridiculous. Like, what are you trying to prove at that point? I'm sorry. Even if you were an incredible fighter for progressive causes, if you were a champion of progressive causes, it's like, what are we doing? But she was not. Right?
Doubling down.
But remember, this race is not wrapped up yet, okay? We still got to push. We still have to push, okay? We have to do everything in our power. We have to smile and dial. We have to continue phone banking. Phone banks are happening throughout the day. You can Dial in from anywhere in the nation, okay? Remember that. It's the most effective way to combat against the barrage of misinformation and heinous smears that Melak Kiros has withstood throughout this entire campaign.
The radical movement.
It's a dirty game.
We were enforcing our borders long before ICE existed, and we'll do it long after ICE existed. Voters are voting across this country for leadership that is unbought and unafraid to stand up to the billionaires and the corporations that have kept our prices high, that have been burning our planet and profiting from genocide. I believe what we're talking about here is attacks that are taking place on the Jewish community as a result of the actions that are taking place in Palestine.
Joining us now to react, senior writer for the Washington Examiner and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, good morning to you. So we have a new name we're talking about today, and Melek Kiros, who's running in Colorado's very liberal 1st congressional district, and she believes in all the standard socialist things, abolish ICE and Medicare for all, but she also declined to call the firebombing of Jews in Boulder, Colorado, an act of anti-Semitism because she doesn't know what was in the heart of the perpetrator.
You know what's crazy about this, by the way? They're hitting her with what they would hit me with. Okay, they're hitting her now individually instead of like tying her to me in some way, shape, or form. They're doing the same thing to her. They're like purposely misunderstanding the point that she was addressing. They're purposely misunderstanding the point that she was addressing to like hammer her over the head with this ridiculous nonsense to try to present her as a fucking anti-Semite. It's nasty.
And when asked,
Nasty.
she agreed that a 9/11 was the inevitable consequence of American foreign policy. There is very little polling when it.
You know what's funny about this? Robert Kagan, the godfather of the neocon movement, has also agreed with that statement because it's true. She's just acknowledging events that have unfolded. I'm sorry. You are trying to put the fucking toothpaste back in the goddamn tube. That's it.
Comes to this race, but if she does win, this would be a major victory for the socialist movement in this country.
I mean, think about what you just described there, Carly, as far as that firebombing in her district, saying that she doesn't know what's in the heart of the person who killed people. I mean, who cares what's in that person's heart? That person needs to go to jail. And yet here we have another foreign-born, anti-American candidate who will win in this district. I mean, you look at any polling that's coming out of there. I mean, this could be easily a double-digit victory for Melek Kiros. And we're seeing this now trend happening in New York City. We just saw it last week. 3 Democrat socialists, which again is the biggest oxymoron ever to put Democrat and socialist in the same sentence as far as democracy and socialism existing peacefully. Then we also have, obviously, in Seattle, Washington, in Washington, D.C., now Colorado, which used to be a purple state. Now, obviously, it's quite blue, especially in the Denver, Boulder area. This is the trend at this point. But again, if you're a member of the Republican Party and you're running in the midterms in 2026 or running for president in 2028, this is a walking, talking campaign commercial when you look at all of her extreme views that say, once again, that there shouldn't be any military or financial assistance to Israel whatsoever.
Terrifying. Wow, that's crazy. No, we shouldn't have any military or financial assistance to Israel ever. Wow, what a terrible platform. What's your platform? What's the Republican Party's platform? More military and financial assistance to this foreign state? Why? The fuck? Didn't Donald Trump run on isolationism? Didn't Donald Trump run on America first? Didn't Donald Trump run on no new wars? Israel's gotten us to a new war, a war that is directly translated to higher gas prices for Americans, more inflation for Americans. Why the fuck would they want that? This is not just an issue that Democrats care about. This is an issue that all Americans care about. This is something that transcends party lines. Okay? I will give you one thing, though. Kyle Clark, big day for the 100-plus Denver Democrats who planned to run for Congressman Diana to get retired, only to watch Melek Kiros announce she wasn't waiting. A Kiros win would be seismic for Democratic politics in Colorado, where nearly everyone waits their turn and stays in line. This is the alternative, by the way. This is something that actually has been beneficial because a lot of the do-nothing Dems, a lot of the people that waited their turn, a lot of the people that abide by the seniority in the party are now probably very frustrated because all of those careerists, they played the role that they're supposed to play. They waited their turn, right? This is a real issue. Seniority is a real issue at the heart of this goddamn party, okay? Yeah, Andrew Solander says, it's been a rough year for Democratic Party electeds in safe blue districts who have spent decades waiting for their long-time incumbents to retire. Of course we're not going to wait for that.
You said 9/11 being inevitable, given our own foreign policy. 29 years old, there she is on your screen, and she's going to be in every campaign ad, along with Zohran Mamdani, along with Katie Wilson, the mayor of Seattle, going forward as far as the midterms are concerned, because this is the new Democratic Party, Todd.
Joe, need a real quick answer here. You heard President Trump in that soundbite going into the commercial. He's not using the word socialism anymore. He's using the word communism. As a messaging expert yourself, what do you make of that change?
I think in the end, Todd, if you have a very binary choice, just a very simple choice between common sense and communism, you win that battle every time. Ronald Reagan obviously ran on that back in 1980, also had a great line saying, are you better off than you were 4 years ago when he ran against Jimmy Carter? Yeah, just make it a very simple choice for voters. Don't get deep down in the policy. And I think in the end, Republicans, again, are embracing this as a result, because it's a very easy choice for most Americans in swing districts, not so much in deep blue districts, but in swing districts, this message wins, Todd.
Joe Concha, we will see. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it as always.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
What we don't have are leaders who are unbought.
Also, it's hilarious as this guy talks about democracy and socialism being contradictory when they spend all their time calling Democrats socialists and communists. Yeah, I mean, it's the only speed that they have. It's the only meta that they have. They're communist socialists, communist socialists. Well, guess what? You know what happens when the stigma associated with the term goes away? That line of attack goes away even for the fucking do-nothing Democrats that are called socialist and communist. Ironically enough, okay? So we're not just doing a favor for our movement. We're not just doing a favor for a movement that centers the working class. We're doing a favor to the fucking do-nothing Democrats as well, who get fucking yelled at all the goddamn time. That's it. This is a fucking joke aside from Roe. What is this? Anyway, oh yeah, this is a warning for everyone, by the way, with a big election night today in Colorado. Here's a briefing on what to expect tonight on the Democratic side. Colorado is fundamentally a vote-by-mail state. Every registered voter receives a mail ballot, though voters can still cast ballots in person. Mail-in ballots must be received by election day to be counted. In broad terms, ballots are counted roughly in order they are received, meaning earlier return ballots are usually reported first, while later return ballots are added later. Remember, this won't stop this is not going to stop the mainstream outlets from doing an adequate projection potentially, but there is a likelihood that you are going to see the early in the night massive numbers for Diana to get. Okay. If you see that, that shouldn't freak you out at all, because guess what? Every single day for the past week, the average age of voters has gone down dramatically. As in, a lot of the more progressive voters, they tend to vote later. They tend to vote on election day, as a matter of fact, which is why if you see I guess in the Democratic Party version of this, a red mirage style situation, like we saw with the Spencer Pratt early victory, as opposed to Nithya Raman, you are most likely going to see something similar here in Colorado as well. There's also another thing that is an issue in Colorado. There is no, we're not going to know exactly what percentage of votes have been counted either. Okay? That matters a lot tonight. In broad terms, ballots are counted roughly in the order they're received, meaning earlier return ballots are usually reported first, while later return ballots are added later. That matters a lot tonight. Colorado's early electorate has been quite old, but has been getting younger and younger as we get closer to election day. This isn't a surprise based on recent patterns, including late counting progressive strength in recent elections in other late mail elections in Seattle, Salt Lake City, and LA. We think later ballots should be more favorable to progressives, potentially by a huge margin. At first, votes will be reported rather quickly. We expect roughly 50% of the total vote to report within the first 90 minutes after polls close. But that does not mean that the count will be remotely representative of the final results. Our current expectation is that around 75% of all ballots will be counted by the end of the night. with the remaining vote counting to report in the days that follow. But because of that, patience is essential. In some races, progressives could be trailing by a sizable margin initially and still have a real path back in the late mail behaves if the late mail behaves as expected. As a rough benchmark, we think progressives could be down. Remember, this is important. Progressives could be down as much as 20 after the initial drop and still have a realistic path back to win. So if you see Diana DeGette 20 points above Melot Quiros, which I don't think we will see. I think it'll be much closer. Melot Quiros will still have a clear pathway to victory. Okay? If a progressive candidate is trailing by less than 4 points when election night counting ends early Wednesday morning, I expect we will say they are favored, though that rough benchmark could shift based on how the mail vote actually moves throughout the night. Unlike California, Colorado does not have a centralized statewide reconciliation site showing how many ballots remain. That means the true universe of outstanding votes may be difficult to assess. Okay, that's also important. We don't know like what percentage of votes have been counted, right? Especially in close statewide races. In the past, there has been a substantial amount of uncertainty and incorrect information floating around regarding the number of ballots remaining. Colorado 3 in 2022 lingers in the mind of many. Historically, Colorado counties often finish counting by the weekend after Election Day. But this year, the calendar could also slow things down. Friday, July 3rd is the observed Independence Day holiday, which may complicate late week follow-up in county reporting. And then the holiday weekend could continue to slow down the process, meaning close races may not be fully resolved until early next week. New ballot numbers just dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, Election Day ballots are surging in Denver. Youth vote is coming in big on the final day. 20,000 counted this far. We will likely go north of 50K just on today. Great news for Melot Quiros and Phil Weiser. Okay? Look at those numbers, baby. I know you like the number, and we got the number. Okay? Plattner soft endorses Abdul. Of course he's going to endorse Abdul. He's literally backed by the same fucking groups, the same vehicle.
Welcome to the Senate, Graham. Now go to the back row, sit down, and shut up. There has been a group of...
Dude, Maine is so awesome.
...senators who've begun to coalesce and work together and build kind of a core of power in the Senate. I just want to add to their numbers. Right now, depending on who you count, we've got like 7 to 9. But I'm going to win this thing. And James Tallarico is going to win in Texas. And Mary Peltola is going to win in Alaska. Sherrod Brown's going to win in Ohio. Abdul El Sayed is going to win in Michigan. Ooh. Peggy Flanagan's going to win out in Minnesota.
Ooh. Abdul El Sayed is going to win in Michigan. Oop. The primary's not over yet, Graham. That's a soft endorsement. That's a soft endorsement. Oop. ZBS has Wiener on.
This one beyond.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that. Everyone's been yelling about Scott Wiener being a victim of a bird dogging incident.
And we're not going to have flips from red to blue. We're going to have flips from red to fighting Democrats.
Nice. Here's Michael from Pennsylvania's prediction. I mean, look, he was on the ball with New York. He nailed it. Okay. He nailed it. We shall see if he's right. Okay. I'm never going to be as confident as Michael from Pennsylvania is. You guys know my policy. Until it's over, we keep fighting. Okay. It's not over until it's done. I'm always going to be nervous, especially the day of the election. You guys have seen me go through the motions every single time. You watched me do this in New York City. I was in New York City, and until the night of the election, until we found out exactly what the margins look like, the margins of victory, my asshole was puckering till the final moment. And that's going to continue being the case here in Denver, Colorado. Okay. But he says Melot early vote +6 +7, final margin Melot +10. That's crazy. If early vote goes to Melot by 6, then the final margin will be more than 10, in my opinion. but we'll see.
Colorado has some mail-in voting, right? But I think they should have it all counted before the polls close. I think we should have a good sense. And I also think we'll know by tonight because she'll be winning by so much. So I have a feeling like as soon as polls close, we're going to have a big drop and Maylot's going to be in the lead. And then that's that. And it's going to be.
If polls close and Maylot's in the lead, it's over. I mean, every channel will project her as the winner. Okay. Because of the thing that we just mentioned earlier, which is that the age breakdown will favor 65 plus leading up to the last week of mail-in ballot drop-offs. It's only gotten younger, and it's continuing the trend younger, and it's going to be even younger today, hopefully. But having said that, if Maylot is winning, that means that she's winning with 65 plus, which is supposed to be the safe haven for Diana to get. Judging by the anecdotal information that I have received from all of you, many of you have phone banked. You've talked to a lot of older voters, some of which are very positive on Maylot, but there's also some older voters that have genuinely said she's an anti-Semite. So I am actually worried about that. Okay, I'm actually worried about how much those heinous smears work because every district is different. But there's one reliable thing you can look at. 65 plus older voters will literally listen to whatever television man is telling them and will go, that's right, that's the case. This younger black candidate probably is a terrorist. Okay. So I am definitely still very nervous.
Called relatively quickly. I think she'll end up. I think when the early votes are dropped, she'll probably be up 6. That's my prediction. She'll be up 6 when the polls close, and the first big drop will be somewhere around 4 to 6 points, and then it'll rise up to 10 plus after all the votes are counted. 6 or 7 votes, 6 or 7 points. Will we know who?
Okay, the 6 or 7 he was memeing about probably. I think if Maylot has a margin of victory in the early mail-in ballot drop-offs, it's not going to be 6 points because if it's 6 points, then she won't win by 10. She will win by more than 10. But what do I know? Michael from Pennsylvania is, a lot more knowledgeable in reading this kind of stuff. I'm a vibes guy. Okay, I'm a vibes voter. I'm a vibes-based understander. And I will always be fearful until the last moment. I will always be unbelievably conservative with my estimations. Yesterday, over 19,000 additional ballots were returned in Denver, making the youngest day of the early voting period so far. We already talked about that. He's not memeing. He was not memeing about 6 or 7. Okay. I'm a numbers guy. I trust Michael from Pennsylvania number. I know you like the number. We like the number plus 10. I wonder what his take is on Gonzalez. Because, look, the Senate is an entirely different behemoth. Okay? The Senate is an entirely different behemoth. Proud to endorse Abdullah Saver, U.S. Senate. Abdul will fight to get money out of politics, put money back in workers' pockets, and pass Medicare for all. I'll be seeing Chris in a little bit, by the way, in 2 hours or so, in less than 2 hours. And I'm going to have David Dayan on in half an hour. We're going to be talking about SCOTUS. We're going to be talking about the number. We're going to be talking about the number of smear campaigning ad dollars that have flooded in to the Diana DeGette race here against Maylot Quiros. He thinks Gonzalez is going to be razor thin. Yeah, I can, dude. If Gonzalez wins, that is an insane victory. Okay, you have to understand. I think Gonzalez has been a little too shy. I mean, so shy that even I called it out when we were having a conversation because she has been a bold advocate, right? She has been a bold champion of a lot of issues in her time in Colorado politics, and I wish that her communication was bold, just like her policy making has been. Okay? That has been, I think, the only thing I can say. That's the only thing I can say about Julie, Senadora, that I think could play a role in this. in her race. Obviously, the calculation that they're making is very different than mine. The calculation that her team and she is making is different than mine. I think it's time. I think it's time to be bold. But the Senate is a different demon, is a different behemoth. But we have seen success in Michigan for Abdul, who has not shied away from being bold. Graham Plattner in Maine, who has not shied away from being bold, right? So there are obviously clear examples of people who are not shying away from taking firm positions on issues, right? And you know, being and presenting themselves as a fighter. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. And I do think that that she's playing it a little bit more careful than the other candidates that, you know, we've looked at that have made waves. I think that also did not nationalize this race as much for her, as opposed to even Maylak Quiros. But then again, I think she still has a shot. It's just, you know, it's just tough. Hickenpooper has a lot more name recognition. This is a Senate race. And in order to fight for that name recognition, I would have, if I was Julie Gonzalez's campaign manager, or if I was advising in any capacity, I would have said, you should be a lot more aggressive in your stances. Like, use the momentum that you'll get from people being like, oh, you're associating with Hassan Piker. Use that as an opportunity in the spotlight to be like, there are plenty of people in the state of Colorado who I don't agree with on many issues, but it doesn't matter. I will fight for them too. Hickenlooper has left them behind, you know, that kind of thing. I think she shied away a little bit, but it's okay. Same with, like I've said, the Senate is different. The Senate is different than the House of Representatives, okay? The Senate is different than the House of Representatives. And that's the reason why you haven't seen any senators up until now, and you probably won't see them in this primary cycle, in this midterm cycle, openly seek out the endorsement of the DSA and say that they're Democratic Socialists or things like that, because it's a statewide race. And there's a lot more money involved. And I think that there is still this hang up. There's still this hang up in the eyes of many, both in the primaries for the Democrats and certainly in the general for the midterms. There's still this hang up with this association with democratic socialism. They're worried about it. Anyway, that will change though. And I think the victories that we notch for democratic socialists who are loud and proud about their association will inevitably give confidence to others who are running in the Senate to also come out and seek out that endorsement eventually. And I think the first person will either be AOC if she runs for Senate or Summerlee. 2028, mark my words. In 2028, we will have open Democratic Socialists running for Senate who will seek out the endorsement of the Democratic Socialists of America. Maybe not in the primaries, maybe not in the midterms, but in 2028, you will see people seeking out that endorsement. Mark my fucking words. Okay?
And unafraid to stand up to the billionaires and the corporations that are keeping our prices high, that are burning our planet, that are profiting from genocide. And that's what we deserve.
In the caucus process and on these doors, I have never felt this much.
Can we take your word on this like we did for Ukraine? That's so funny. Dude, my haters are down abysmal. Okay, Unc, taking your ball and going home, bro, puts on a suit and everything changes. Socialist mansion with a smart board law. You claim not to be a grifter too. Dude, I wanna fucking pour one out for my haters. I know it's been tough for all of you. Okay? I know it's been so tough for all of you, for many of you. You said, Hassan, you don't get involved in politics seriously, and then I did. And then you said your politics won't win, and then it did. And now you just have to seethe from a position of irrelevance. You know, go campaign for Josh Gottheimer or something, man. You know? I apologize to all my haters. I have made you the waiters at my table of success, at our table of success. But guess what, comrade? You can also be a part of the table of success. You don't even have to publicly make this change, okay? We'll welcome you with open arms as long as your heart and as long as what's in here has changed, okay? That's it. That's all this is. I wish you well. I know it's been a tough year. I know it's been a tough couple of years. Many of you basically found yourselves on the side of an apartheid state that was continuing to do ethnic cleansing as it had done for 75 years prior to October 7. And you thought that that would be a fantastic opportunity to join forces with some of the most schizophrenic institutional organizations to demand the deplatforming of your favorite sex pest's least favorite content creator, right? Did you feel in like the early stages of 2024 that this is where we would get, where a sequence, where there would be a dramatic sea change, where the public would just simply see the truth about what Israel was doing, and that there would be a dramatic sea change and a demand for politicians who would say the truth? And that those politicians would start winning these races. Hassan talking to his haters, like how I calmed the frightened dog that had escaped into my backyard last year. She was so sweet if you just laid down and talked to her. Yeah, I welcome you to be on the right side of history, no matter how long it takes, okay? Because the thing that we have on our side that you don't have is conviction. If you don't have conviction, if you don't have courage, if you don't have a political vision for a better tomorrow, all you have at your disposal is reacting to the way things are being shaped by those who do have that conviction. You understand? And especially if you're facing a foe that you have identified as an enemy, which I don't think we should be. Okay? I don't think we should be enemies at all. But if you have defined me as your enemy, more often than not, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of many issues. That's it. It's super simple. No one knows what you've done leading up to this moment. And I certainly will not hold it against you as long as you join the right side. In any case, speaking of joining the battle and joining the right side in this cause, let's be real. We're going to be carrying the flame in a little bit because it's level 2 hype train. And you, too, can support the broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering how you can carry the flame, at level 10 hype train, we always carry the flame every single day. And today is another one of those days. All you need to do for the Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service, to support independent media is to subscribe. No ads, no ad breaks, no sponsorships. Just a subscription, a voluntary subscription. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. But if you do, at level 10 hype train, we will carry the motherfucking flame. Oh my God, Closed Presence is back. What the hell? Haven't seen that name in a decade, it seems like. Will Mike Plays, thank you for the 10. Community gives the subs. MX Mirror, thank you for the 5. Closed Presence, thank you for the hundo spot. Level 5 hype train already achieved. We're at level 6 already. God damn. Strait was closed, and now it's open, it seems, and Closed Presence is back. Our Oilers are back. That's right. Julia Palooza, thank you for the 5. B Radical, thank you for the 10. Mesotone, thank you for the 5. And Bezalia, thank you for the 10. Honey and Bees, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Oh, also, a coalition of some of the most Fed-coded forces are finally gathering together. Our haters are anemic. Our haters must be anemic, but they are doing their very best. The real horseshoe has been unlocked. Joining forces off of their mutual and shared enmity towards a political content creator. It seems to me like the haters still want to maintain being waiters at the table of success. That's right. Never thought I would see the day when a far left, ostensibly, someone who considers themselves to be a far left doxer and a center right liberal groiper doxer. You know, we got the third worldist doxers, third worldist groiper doxers, and we got the DNC groiper doxers coming together to dox into oblivion. Fantastic. Level 7 hype train, ladies and gentlemen. Lofi Dude, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Doesn't Destiny pretend to be Epstein? Pretend to be a huge electoralist? Yes. But he has decided that electoralism is a bad route because remember, the only thing driving him is his enmity towards me. And now that I'm participating in elections as aggressively as I can, as hands-on as I can, he's decided the only route available to him is to sit at home and shit on those efforts. Okay? That's all they got. CMOC, Benny Scrap, thank you for the 10. Level 7 hype train complete. Soy Chorizo, thank you for the 5. Olives and Oil, thank you for the 5. Jakob's Most Putrid Caucus. Yeah, there was another post from Ogre Boy, the account that I saw on my timeline. My Twitter algo is so busted. Okay, but that clued me in on what Epstein has been focusing on, as this community's been going out door knocking, doing everything in our power to make sure that we have make sure that we have candidates that center the working class in their politics. Here. Last month of commentary. Is there a day that goes by that this man doesn't simply watch whatever the fuck I'm doing? Every damn day, dude. I wonder how his audience perceives this. Like, at some point, they got to be like, dude, are we doing more Hassan content again? New LARP. Did he glitch? Ron Burgundy suit. You're just Matty-S style. He's overstimulated. He's going to cry about this for years. Shock collar Hassan. I can't breath. Okay, but for real, how much did Dan pay this man? You think he's going to blame you for this? No. He was zooming on the Revolution Hassan frame to see if you were reading talking points when discussing Gaza on a different monitor last week. Ogre posted about this as well, I believe. Or maybe it's Queen. I guess he's just completely given up on making any sort of significant changes or even having an impact on the Democratic Party's politics altogether. And his entire focus is just watching my VODs, which I assume this VOD will also be watched as well, as he tries to generate as much revenue as possible for his court case, where he's just like melting hundreds of thousands of dollars as he victim blames the people who are brave enough to sue him for distributing revenge porn. An unofficial Hasanabi Industrial Complex channel. Level 8 hype train. 1 minute remaining, ladies and gentlemen. Level 8 hype train. 1 minute remaining. Will we carry the flame, or will the flame perish today? Remember, at level 10 hype train, we carry the motherfucking flame. All right, let's continue.
Anti-establishment energy from everyday people than I felt this cycle.
There's something happening across America, a political movement setting off earthquakes. It rocked New York last week, and now it's headed for the Rocky Mountains.
Has everybody here voted or
In Denver, a 29-year-old lawyer, PhD student, and barista named Milat Kiros is running for Congress and primarying a long-time incumbent, Diana DeGette. And according to recent polls,
set to it run with 50 bones, saving the opportunity for the flame to be carried. Holy moly. Enteombi, Comfy Kathy, thank you for the 5. Based Max, thank you for the 5. Honeybees, thank you for the 5. Level 8 hype train complete. We have one more level remaining. Level 9 hype train at 19%. Amy Eon, thank you for the 10. Just because Kirk couldn't parry, we have to carry? Yes. Yes, and I will be playing the Bollywood version because that's my favorite version right now. It's stuck in my mind all the time. If we get there, of course. If we get there. Once again, no guarantees. Coma Crest, thank you for the 5. Jimmy Cheese, thank you for the 5. Apparently, he now believes you're being sent notes to hit talking points because you've gotten better at propaganda.
So his eyes go between two places, but he's full screened and he's not looking at the camera. So one of these places his eyes are going to is the chat, I would imagine.
Wow. Incredible commentary, man. Yeah, no, I'm literally monitoring the chat, monitoring the stream. That's what I'm doing. I don't have talking points to hit, but it's cool. It's like when people say I'm doing steroids. Okay? This is unbelievably schizophrenic, by the way. The most clickable bald Hassan thumbnail legendary editor is like watching bronze players celebrate getting into silver. Piker's really the Trump of the left. He doesn't do anything other than damaging the cause. And when the Dems win, he takes credit for it. Mamdani got 3 candidates elected from his work, and Hassan now thinks he runs the world is really something. Yeah. Someone is sending you a transcript that you're reading from? Yeah, it must be the Chinese Communist Party, right?
And then I'm curious what the second one is. Could it be like whatever notes he has to hit the talking points?
Forcing.
You could tell, I guess, based on when he pauses. It does look like the downward eyes here is looking at the whatever he has printed off or whatever.
Bro, this is brain damage, dude. This is actually fucking brain damage. Also, we made it to level 10 hype train. Colorado being a focus is so strange. When we were considered a purple state, it was crazy. Then we faded into the background, elected a gay libertarian redditor for governor, and now we are here with serious socialist candidates. Yes. Also, level 10 hype train has been achieved, ladies and gentlemen. You already know what it is. You already know what's up. All right. David Dayen of the American Prospect is going to be on the broadcast now, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully I'll be able to do it with the virtual camera. All right. Perfect. I think you mentioned Charlie Kirk more than Erica does. I probably do because I carry to flame. And I fight for the gospel. I honor his name. All right. David, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. Okay, I got the right microphone. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, David Dayen on the broadcast. What an honor. It's an interesting time to have you on. There is a lot of momentum on candidates that I'm a little out of breath. Sorry, I was just dancing. Sorry, this is I like to do both. I like to have fun, but then also get into the nitty gritty and the serious stuff. You have Peace Out on the American Prospect since last night, I believe. We're going to be talking about that. The Supreme Court came down with some very serious decisions today, and I wanted to start by talking about that and then maybe tie it even back to the reason for why I'm in Denver, Colorado, pushing for Melot Quiros and Julie Gonzalez to hopefully win their races. So let's start there. The Supreme Court, good or bad? What do you think?
Up or down? Big thumbs down today. 3 rulings today. One of them, they retained birthright citizenship, but really only by 1 vote. Kavanaugh said that the Constitution does not disallow regulations on birthright citizenship, but some statute does separately. So you really have 4 votes saying that the plain language of the Constitution that's in the 14th Amendment does not say what it says it is. It does. And that was the good ruling, right? So the other 2, one of them involved, or 2 of them involved trans athletes in sports, and basically said that states can put together any rule they want to ban that. And the other one, which is probably going to get less attention, is around campaign finance. So this was a case brought by the National Republican Senatorial Committee, which is the campaign arm for Senate Republicans. And they wanted to coordinate party spending with candidates and have unlimited amounts of spending. Previously, the parties could coordinate a certain amount of money. I think it was $69,000 at the minimum, maybe a little bit more than that for Senate. They could coordinate a certain amount of money. But now there's unlimited coordination spending. What that means is the party arms, NRSC, the DCCC, and the Democratic side, the DNC, the RNC, they get all kinds of corporate money. And now they can legally use unlimited amounts of that corporate money and put it into candidate races as much as they possibly want. When you work on a coordinated basis with a campaign, you get cheaper rates. So like if a super PAC ad wants to put an ad on Denver television, they'll probably charge 10 times as much, up to 10 times as much for that ad that they would for an ad from a candidate. So now this is a way to funnel corporate money directly to candidates in coordination with the parties and get cheaper ad rates so that money goes even further. So it's a really bad ruling, kind of ends any pretense about limits on corporate money in elections, as if there was any already.
Yeah. So you don't believe that this is... you don't believe that the previous formation was a significant violation of the First Amendment, that corporations are people, and that people are, of course, inevitably going to communicate with one another, including when a person, a corporation, directly gets together with other corporations and creates a super PAC that can directly coordinate with the campaign now, rather than have to go through the previous formation, the previous route, which... made it so that you had to go and look at the red boxes, or you had to have...
Yeah, let's be honest, Hassan, the whole thing's a farce, right? A candidate says, I'm not legally coordinating with a corporate PAC. However, if you go to my website, I'll tell you exactly what that PAC should say, when they should run these ads, who they should appeal them to. I mean, it gets really, really intricate. If you go to any campaign website and look for the link that says media, and that link is the red box that shows you, and usually it's outlined by a red box, and it shows how that candidate is basically flouting the rule of no coordination with super PACs by telling them exactly what they want in those ads. And so, this was kind of a legal fiction anyway, that we weren't coordinating. But now it's the ability for parties to do this coordination in a way that basically multiplies the impact and the power of corporate money because they get the cheaper ad rates.
Yeah. Devastating day for American democracy, but then again, it's expected considering
It's also
that
Tuesday. It's also a Tuesday,
Yeah, it's just
a devastating day, but it's just Tuesday.
Yeah. So speaking of the impact that this has had, even with the current formation before the Supreme Court decision, you wrote about how Diana DeGette, who is a 30-year incumbent member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, has received a tremendous amount of outside expenditures, outside spending coming into this race in the last hour. Our suspicion, of course, is that this is directly tied to their internal numbers that they saw. This started last week or so, as Diana DeGette in the last month or so has decided to turn up the negative attack ads against Maila Quiroz. Some heinous things have been said, calling her an anti-Semite, smearing her, highlighting a Colorado Polls article that was totally ridiculous, saying that Maila Quiroz actually wants Jewish people to be harmed. They're playing a rough game, as we saw with Adriana Espaillat, not dissimilar to the Adriana Espaillat incident that took place against Daria Liza, where a lot of these candidates that don't have policies they can stand on, despite the many years that they've been in Congress, will oftentimes just open up the money faucet and increase in and engage in heinous smear campaigns against their much younger insurgent challengers. And it hasn't really been successful, but they're still trying it. But they're aided and abetted by a tremendous amount of corporate expenditure coming from the outside. What do you make of that situation?
Yeah. Well, we already know that DeGette is a corporate-backed candidate. This is someone who's a member of the Progressive Caucus, been around for 30 years. And when my reporter brought me this stat, I almost didn't believe it, but it's true. 64% of DeGette's lifetime fundraising comes from corporate PACs. 64%. That's an unbelievable. This is over 15 terms of her career. So this is a candidate, despite saying that she supports Medicare for all, she takes money from the pharmaceutical interests, she takes money from the insurance companies, and despite being, nominally progressive in a very left-wing district in Denver there, she is a corporate-backed candidate. And so when she gets into trouble, who is she going to turn to? And sure enough, we have these, whether it's big tech, which is very suspected to be behind, I believe it's the 218 Project, one of the PACs that is supporting DeGette, whether it's what they call pro-choice majority, which I believe that money, we know through documented campaign finance disclosures, that PAC and its umbrella sort of parent PAC known as EDW took $1 million from AIPAC. And then there was this third PAC called Mile High Accountability, and we couldn't get a lot of information about that PAC. And so it turns out they never filed a form saying who their donors were, which was required by law. And so the Campaign Legal Center put out a complaint saying you're breaking the law, Mile High Accountability. You're not telling us who your donors are. So they finally, at the last minute, after the complaint was released, they file saying, here's who our donors are. And almost all of the money comes from a different 501c4 that doesn't have to release its donors. So there's a dark money PAC, and it's funded by a different dark money PAC. And so we don't even know who is funding that to try to save DeGette's bacon here. But it's probably consistent with the interests that has supported her entire career.
Yeah. What do you make of the conversation that's taking shape inside of the conversation that's taking shape inside of the Democratic Party right now? There are a lot of centrist Democrats that have come out and said, this is not us. These guys are Democratic Socialists. Maybe you should find your own party. They're really advancing this message, this narrative. Where do you think this will go? Do you think that the establishment Democrats are going to actively fight back against this insurgent wave of candidates, or do you think that there will be more of a consolidation? I feel like Nancy Pelosi, for all of her faults and failures, was actually far better at taking this kind of momentum that took place with the squad in 2018 and packaging it under the big tent of the Democratic Party, whereas Hakeem Jeffries has seemingly created more friction that actually helps, I think, my candidates, our candidates, candidates that are insurgents. It makes them look better as well, instead of trying to bring them under the umbrella of the Democratic Party and then maybe even neutering some of their ambitions.
Yeah, it's definitely a different approach. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, we know, back a few years ago, started a PAC with Josh Gottheimer, who's maybe the right-wing member of the Democratic House Caucus, that was specifically about protecting incumbents from left-wing challenges. So we know where Jeffries is at here. And it's funny to me to see, it's kind of like, what is a scandal, right? They pick out and choose tweets or past statements, past comments, and that's built up to be a big scandal because they can post the tweet and show it. But voting for the Lake and Riley Act, which dozens of House Democrats did, nobody needs to distance themselves from that, right? There's no scandal there that you voted for the thing that is being used to abduct people off the streets, to house them in these horrible detention centers without charges. We've documented, I think, 20 deaths just this year in ICE detention facilities. That's not a scandal. But for some reason, a tweet from 4 years ago is a scandal.
Yeah. Speaking of scandal after scandal, as a matter of fact, you just brought up Josh Gottheimer. There is another target, for me at least, that the national progressive movement hasn't really been paying that much attention to, with the exception of the DSA, and that is Moskowitz seat. This is in Florida, Florida 25.
Oh, yeah.
It's a newly cut down district that was dummy mandered, to use a term that Hakeem Jeffries likes to use. It's actually far closer of a race where we have a real opportunity to unseat a potential Republican, even though it's like a plus 10 Republican district or something.
I think it's a
plus 7.
Yeah, I think it's plus 10-ish that went for Trump, but Biden won the district in 2020.
Yeah.
So it's a district that swung but could swing back.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, of course, is because earlier today there was a War Powers resolution for Lebanon. This was the War Powers resolution for Lebanon that Representative Rashida Tlaib put forward to basically stop Trump's unilateral war powers, and a similar bill obviously passed with Iran. Not to say that it's going to have any real impact in terms of curbing back Donald Trump's actions, because he's very clearly violated that War Powers resolution this past weekend when he bombed Iran instead of trying to advance the Memorandum of Understanding. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Josh Gottheimer, alongside 21 other Democrats, voted no on the War Powers resolution on Lebanon, and one of those Democrats was also Moskowitz. So there are a lot of these there are a lot of these Democrats.
You should mention Hassan, the candidate who's running against Moskowitz. His name's Oliver Larkin, and we've actually written about him at the Prospect. I haven't seen him in many other places, but yeah, it's one that's really interesting to watch. The whole South Florida Democratic party is kind of a sewer. It's really problematic. You have Debbie Wasserman Schultz. When there's another seat like Moskowitz's that went for Biden and then flipped back, and there's a swing seat that she could win. Instead, she went running to a historically black district where she's now going to run, I guess, in Kentekla, and against 4 black candidates that were already running in that race.
Yeah, no, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I think, is another unique opportunity for the progressive insurgent movement, the Democratic Socialists, to have an impact in. And I think Florida is really interesting because no one is paying attention to it. There's not a lot of national attention being paid to Florida right now. And there's certainly not a lot of attention being paid to Florida from some of the other national organizations that normally would get involved. They've played it somewhat more safe than I would have assumed, even Justice Democrats. You got Elijah Manley, former Democratic Socialist, who's still running as a Democratic Socialist, but he was in DSA Broward, I believe, when he was 18 years old, who is trying to consolidate support amongst the other black candidates.
Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to do that, and so they're all going to be on the ballot. So that's going to be a tough road. I think Larkin is that's a very interesting race because it's a one-on-one against Moskowitz. But yeah, that's a late summer primary, August 18th. Anything could happen there. And it's gotten almost no attention from anybody. I mean, everyone's talking about Michigan. Everyone's talking about, maybe to a lesser extent, Minnesota, Wisconsin, that were the gubernatorial candidates at DSA member. But no one's talking about Florida, and those races are really interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that even the more progressive like insurgent party movements at the national level have hyper focused on what they perceive are like easy winnable. Well, they're not. None of them are easily winnable districts because there's a tremendous amount of moneyed interest coming in and pouring into these races. But like, they focus more so on deep blue districts. But I think there is a real opportunity to flip some purple seats.
Well, I'll give you one that I have a piece coming out tomorrow about this, and it's in Michigan, in mid-Michigan. And the candidate's name is Will Lawrence. And he was an organizer with the Sunrise Movement, and then became a housing organizer in Lansing. There are 3 candidates in the race. 2 of them are establishment-backed. One was the ambassador to Ukraine, and the other guy was an ex-Navy SEAL. They're like classic biographies of who the Democratic establishment runs in a swing district. This is a district held by a Republican, used to be Alyssa Slotkin's district. But it's kind of the classic biography, right? Yeah. And those 2 candidates are running against one another. They, if you look at their red boxes, they're all about the other person. And yet Will Lawrence has led in 3 of the 4 polls that have actually been publicly released in the district. He put out his first stat of the cycle today. It's all about a data center that is going in that district and how he's the only one fighting it. He has a real shot to kind of flip this script and say that actually my populism, my economic populism actually helps me in a swing district because I can bring together different coalitions than the normal kind of establishment, middle of the road candidate can. And so that one I think is going to be really interesting because he's kind of favored, and it's very under the radar given what we've seen so far in terms of the polling.
No, absolutely. There are a lot of left populist candidates that are either DSA backed or affiliated or endorsed or adjacent that are making waves in supposedly purple districts and supposedly purple states, right?
Have you been up to see Villegas?
I've yet to hang out with Villegas. We got Villegas, and then we also have Vang as well.
My
and
bank, sure.
also Angela Gonzalez as well, Gonzalez Torres. So there are.
Yeah, that's a lefty district in LA, but yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, I'm just saying, like in general, there are a lot of candidates that haven't gotten the national attention, but I think like this sort of affiliation, this sort of association will offer them that national attention. And what I have seen, at least in my experience, is that even the negative association with someone like myself that like the media tries to frame as a negative association ends up working in their favor in every district, including statewide districts, as we've seen with Abdul El-Sayed.
And on the opposite side of that, all the money that's coming in has had kind of a backlash as well. I saw a report today from Public Citizen that this is another stunning stat. 1/3 of all the corporate money that has been spent since Citizens United's ruling in 2010, 1/3 of the money in that 16-year period has been spent in this primary cycle. And that's only half the year. It's only half the primary cycle. We still have 20-some states to go.
It's unbelievable.
But there is, compared to 2022, compared to 2024, there is diminishing returns. The pro-Israel PACs won pretty much every race in those other two cycles. The crypto PACs won practically every race they played in those previous two cycles. This year, it's about 50-50. And, you could see that as good or bad, but it's much different. It's much more diminishing returns. And when you're talking about these sums of money and how they almost are canceling themselves out because everyone knows, the story of the races are not sort of what's in those ads, but the fact that those ads are out, who's behind them, how these PACs are trying to hide their support and basically try to deny the public the transparency of knowing who is funding these things. I think that has ended up really reverting back on the candidates who they're trying to support and giving, a lot of help to candidates that on the progressive side of things.
I think that is true. I think there is a lot more of a diverse media diet out there for the average person interested in the primaries now more than ever, because if you were to only get your information from MS Now or CNN or ABC, CBS, they rarely factor in where the outside expenditure is coming from or what that says about a particular candidate. Whereas people like myself, people like yourself, and also other organizations like AIPAC Tracker, for example, are so on the ball when it comes to identifying exactly where this money is coming from and what that says about the track record and potential future policy agenda of these establishment Democrats, including with like Drop Site News, that will hunt down exactly where these AIPAC shell corporations are coming from. That I think we have a much more educated electorate that is definitely deeply invested in identifying who to vote for and why they mustn't vote for certain candidates. But then I think more importantly, there's a lot of legwork now, unlike ever before, with DSA's ground game that we've seen in both New York City and all these other districts, including in Denver, Colorado, that is able to outcompete the negative attack ads that are coming in. We've seen tremendous success in our phone banking initiatives that we've done in the last couple of days. I believe 500,000 doors have been knocked. I mean, like an insane number.
In that district.
I believe 500,000 or something insane in Denver, Colorado. Like, or is it the phone banking numbers? It could be the phone banking numbers that I'm mixing up. Hold on, let me refer to it before I give fake news. Before I do fake news here. Hold on.
I mean, I think the point you're making as you look that up, it's the difference between organized money and organized people.
Yeah.
So what DSA in particular, but also the Working Families Party and some of these other
500,000 phone calls. Yeah, sorry.
Phone calls. Okay. What I think these groups have been able to do, Justice Dems and et cetera, they've been able to do two things. Number one is they have masked those volunteers that have, those conversations are much more impactful when you're on the doors, you're in front, face to face with someone, you're having a conversation. Those are really, really important things to do for a campaign. And it's simply easier when you have a volunteer force at your back than for some candidate that would have to basically pay volunteers to do that. The second thing that they've done this year that's been unique, and it's Justice Dems, but it's also Working Families, and it's also this thing, American Priorities, that has come in as a counterweight to some of the AIPAC spending. They have been able to at least allow these candidates to hang a little bit on the air, right? So instead of being blown out with 4 million on one side, just to throw a number out, 4 million on one side, nothing on the other, now it's like 4 million to maybe 1.5 million, right? And so at least the message is being countered a little bit in the paid media, on YouTube ads or wherever. So that's just a little bit of pushback, and they don't have the airwaves all to themselves. And so I think that has been, I think all of us would agree that the best system would be a public financing of campaign system.
Yes.
But if that's not going to happen, you can't tie yourself with two hands behind your back and be, the purity police and then lose all the time. So I think Democrats, progressives and, DSA types are getting smarter about the idea that we're not going to unilaterally disarm. We're going to fight. And when we win, hopefully we can make a better system in the aftermath, provided we have a different Supreme Court.
Yeah. One of the things that I always go back to, of course, is that the people power doesn't come unless the policies are there. No one is going to get activated for Diana DeGette or Adriana Espaillat. You can have a machine. You can try to turn on that machine, as we saw with Adriana Espaillat, a machine that is directed exclusively to reinforce his power, and it fails, right? Because having having great policies, having a great message overall that centers the working class will not only turn out the door knockers and the people who are motivated to help you out because they want to see that change in Congress, but it also is a good message that you can spread far and wide that will actually draw turnout. The negative campaigning, on the other hand, is only going to depress voter turnout. It's only going to lead to further apathy. And that is a big part of the reason why this is not a problem that I don't think establishment Democrats can actually fight back against by simply making up the enthusiasm gap with a tremendous amount of money, because the message is not there, because the policies are not there, because the advocacy is not there. There's also obviously the structural burden that they carry, that they have to be associated with the last decade or so of incompetence, the last decade or so of all of the policy failures, right? Whether it be losing to Donald Trump, you have to own that. And there is an outsider advantage here.
I agree. And I think as we think about, because, certainly already we're having some of these candidates who are going to move into the government, right? I mean, the ones in New York, Chris Robb and Adam Homowy and Anna Lilly is already there. There's going to be a need to move from opposition to proposition, right? To move to what are you doing? And I think what we're seeing in New York City with the rent freeze passing, with childcare slots opening up, is building an actual vision of what a successful agenda that actually delivers for people looks like. And I think the people going into Congress, obviously it's more difficult in Congress because you have 435 people. You're not just one mayor, but you can point to that and say, this is actually the vision. This is what we can actually build.
Yeah.
And if you give us enough people, we can get that done.
Absolutely. David, before I let you go, because I have to rush over to a canvas with Chris Rabb, actually, for Milad Kiros in a little bit, I wanted to also briefly talk about the birthright situation The Supreme Court came down on a 5-4 decision, which I think is entirely too close for comfort, with protecting birthright, which is, one of the most safeguarded, one of the most contested, and therefore one of the most safeguarded aspects of the Constitution. And obviously, a lot of Republicans are frustrated. Can you elaborate on what took place there?
Well, I mean, this was kind of a moonshot. It played out differently than I think a lot of conservative ideas that get into the bloodstream play out. Normally, they take a very long, slow, deliberate path to get something through the Supreme Court. So earlier this week, the ability for the president to fire any appointed commissioner at the Federal Trade Commission, but really at any agency, except for the Fed, because we don't want to mess with our money. That was the result of a decade of law review articles and, putting things into the media and getting things in symposia at Federalist Society conferences. They spent years and years and years working on that until they had the coalition in place on the court, and then they put it together and they got it. This was Donald Trump sent tweet, right? that was it.
Yeah.
And then birthright citizenship is up there at the Supreme Court. And there were a couple sort of half-assed articles that a couple professors who kind of debased themselves put together. It wasn't like this long, slow, deliberate process. And yet it got 4 votes. At least on the constitutional issue.
The constitutionality, it's 6-3 technically, but it's
6-3 technically, yes. So if it's that accelerated, that what it tells me is this isn't going to go away.
Yeah.
That they're going to keep, sort of working this in the courts. They're going to keep putting together arguments to try to convince Kavanaugh, to try to convince Barrett, to try to convince John Roberts, and they're just going to keep at it. And in 10 years, if they still have the same numbers, they'll try again. And so birthright citizenship, while safe for now, is not really safe in the future if you know about the ways in which conservatives go about getting legal changes basically sanctioned by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous.
Can you talk about the distinction between because people are confused in the chat. For those of you who might not understand, what is the decision that was 5-4 versus the decision that was 6-3?
So there's the question is, was Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship legal or not? And the question is legal, if it's legal or illegal, by what means? So there were 5 votes that said it's illegal because of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which says all natural born citizens are citizens of the United States. Brett Kavanaugh said, no, that isn't the reason why I think it's illegal. I think it's illegal because there was a statutory decision that was made by Congress later that made birthright citizenship legal. So, what he's saying is that can be changed. A statute can be changed by Congress. And whereas the Constitution would need a constitutional amendment, and that's a much higher bar. So there are really only 5 votes for the constitutional issue here. And that means any one change. So if Republicans win in 2028 and Sonia Sotomayor steps down, there's your one, right?
Yeah.
Or not even steps down, but if she dies in office, whatever it is. So that's what a knife's edge we're on here. And it's incredible because if you look at the 14th Amendment, the language is clear enough for pretty much everyone in this country to know what it says.
Yeah.
Except for Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Sam Alito, who I guess retired for a minute here today, but then
that was interesting.
NPR took it back. Yeah,
NPR claimed he was retiring, only to turn back and decide that he wasn't retiring. That was interesting as well. In any case, you can't hide. You're in the camera no matter what.
Yeah,
Just
you
come
are in the shot.
This Marge is here, my cam op and producer. We have to head out soon. David Dayan, thank you.
How is it down there? What do you think is going to happen tonight?
It's a beautiful sunny day, 89 degrees. There's an air quality alert, but it's a beautiful day to go out and door knock. It's a beautiful day for Democratic Socialists to win office and win power in this country. And I'm gonna try my very best to keep pushing. But thank you, David Dayan. All
right.
What do you want to shout out? American Prospect?
Yeah, totally. Prospect.org. Check out our print issues. Get a piece of paper delivered to your mail. Prospect.org/subscribe. Sign up. We've got a lot of great stuff coming for the rest of the year, looking at this blue wave, this socialist wave, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to keep every day at prospect.org hammering this and looking at some of these races. Like I said, I got a good one on Michigan's 7th District, Will Lawrence, tomorrow.
And you asked me if I was confident, and my answer is it's never over until it's done. I always feel the same level of vulnerability and stress that I did with Zohran Mamdani's election. That I did with the New York City DSA slate, but that's a healthy feeling to have, I think, and those things have panned out in our direction every single time. So hopefully we'll be able to notch another victory here today.
All right,
all
play
right,
like
bye,
you're 10 points down. There you go.
Thank
See ya.
you.
All right.
All right, everybody. That was David Dayan. I am going to flip the camera now to the laptop camera as we work on work on the other camera. Ironically, the laptop camera is better overall. And I'm going to play this video for you guys from the start. I'm going to go pee real quick.
What we don't have are leaders
and then
who
we're
are
going to move on.
unbought and unafraid to stand up to the billionaires and the corporations that are keeping our prices high, that are burning our planet, that are profiting from genocide. And that's what we deserve.
In the caucus process and on these doors, I have never felt this much anti-establishment energy from everyday people than I felt this cycle.
There's something happening across America, a political movement setting off earthquakes. It rocked New York last week, and now it's headed for the Rocky Mountains.
Everybody here voted, or
In Denver, a 29-year-old lawyer, PhD student, and barista named Milat Kiros is running for Congress and primarying a longtime incumbent, Diana DeGette. And according to recent polls, she's surged into the lead ahead of the election on Tuesday.
I think the shift that we're seeing is one where the party is being forced to actually reckon with the desires of the voters.
A Democratic socialist, Kiros was fired from her law firm job for defending student protesters over Gaza. She is one of several progressive left candidates running against the establishment in Colorado, which has become one of the most expensive places to live in the country.
We have the support for Medicare for all. We have the support for universal child care. We have the support for abolishing ICE. But it's never going to happen when the people that are taking money from these corporations and these special interests are the ones that are still in Congress.
The year 1997 looms large in this race. It was the year that Diana DeGette entered Congress and the year that Kiros was born.
In 1997, I was less than a year old. I'm sure Diana DeGette was doing the same thing she has been doing for the last 30 years, not really passing bills.
She has not kept up enough. She simply can't meet the moment.
I've called her office too many times to count. Nobody's ever gotten back to me. And so to see that people selling things so they can pay for their health care costs, living in cars outside of their employer in the parking lot, that kind of stuff, that affects me.
I think like most other people my age, I've watched things steadily decline. It just feels good that someone's out here actually speaking truth to power.
Kiros won the vote at the Denver Democratic Assembly in April, but DeGette has benefited from millions in PAC spending from Big Pharma, AIPAC, defense contractors, and big tech. Kiros is instead relying on grassroots support to make up the difference.
And at the end of the day, this campaign only works because every single one of y'all knocking on doors, talking about the issues that you care about, but more importantly, talking about the world that you want to live in.
There are so many people in the city that realize that the world that we want to live in isn't impossible.
She's a student, she's a worker, like she has firsthand experience of what it's like to exist in the American economy in the 21st century, and those are the people who should be representing us.
The future of the Democratic Party is once again in the spotlight as voters head to the polls in Colorado state primaries. CBS News congressional reporter Torian Small is watching this for us and joins us from Capitol Hill this morning. Good morning, Torian. So we saw huge gains for Democratic socialists here in New York. What role are Democrats playing in Colorado?
Yeah, Era, I think the clearest test of the push to get the party to move more progressive further to the left would be in the first congressional district race in Colorado. We saw that the 15-time incumbent, Diana DeGette, is running against or facing a challenge against Malat Quiros. She's a 20-year-old or 29-year-old attorney who has really made the stake in being a democratic socialist, saying that it is time for the party to move further to the left. I think what she's referencing there is some of those wins that we saw picked up around the country, especially in New York, when we saw democratic socialists known as her name is slipping me right now, but she's a part of this wave under Mondami's pool that he endorsed 3 candidates who ultimately won in their respective primaries. I think what we're seeing now is this test that is being challenged by a lot of establishment Democrats, including Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. This weekend came out really forcibly against this push to pull the party to the left, saying that a lot of it, in his opinion, is performative. But we'll see where Colorado stands. This is a Democratic stronghold, so we'll see if the party is more aligned with moderates or if they're willing to accept some of these further left policies.
Interesting. Malat Quiros, was that the name you were looking for? We just had a picture of that Democratic socialist on screen there. It's a lot to keep track of, Torian. But who might the front runners be to be the next governor of Colorado?
Yeah, this is a race that's shaping up to be a current sitting U.S. Senator versus State Attorney General. The problem, though, here is that these are 2 similar people. Michael Bennet, who comes from the Democratic Party establishment, he also ran for president previously, is making the claim that he is best present to represent the state in that gubernatorial role. Phil Weisner, as you can see there, the State Attorney General, looking to make the claim that Bennet hasn't necessarily represented the best of Democratic priorities in his current role as senator. He's in a very unique position, Bennet is, considering if he were to win the nomination, traditionally he would take a step back, or the nominee would take a step back from his role and allow the governor to pick his interim replacement. His seat isn't up until 2028, so that would give the governor the breathing room here to pick his replacement. Bennet is maintaining that he won't leave until he believes he could win the general election. That's when he said he would pick his replacement instead of allowing the sitting governor to do that. I think the friction that we're seeing between the two really stems from this very controversial decision from the governor to commute a Trump-supporting election official after threats from the president to force him to do so. The current governor is a Democrat, which is why it's drawing a lot of criticism and which is why Bennet isn't giving him much power to choose his replacement, Errol.
Really fascinating sequence of events there in Colorado. Torian Small, across all of it, old names and new. Torian, we appreciate all your insight. Thanks for being with us.
Welcome back in. Primary night is
Bennet good? Absolutely not. All right, should we go downstairs?
And Colorado has had its most impactful and
all right,
closely
we're going to go downstairs while this plays.
16 years, Kyle Clark?
Yeah, since 2010. Yep, and a number of really interesting races this year. And one race that is surprisingly close is the race for Colorado's first congressional district. So this is the congressional district that basically maps over Denver. Democrat Diana DeGette has held that seat for 29 years. And this year she has a 29-year-old challenger in Malat Quiros, who's a former attorney turned barista, who is running with the help of the Democratic Socialists of America. So DeGette's a progressive. Quiros is running to her progressive left, and it's a tight race. I mean, they're backing up the Brinks truck trying to keep Diana DeGette in Congress. So it's an unexpected challenge that looks quite serious. I talked with Malat Quiros. Diana DeGette won't take our questions. But Quiros told us the goal is to get more Democratic Socialists into Congress and then basically hold the Democratic agenda hostage so that they can extract concessions for progressive goals.
That's the goal. The goal is to build out a coalition of members that are committed to these ideas and these policies that are securing the most basic needs for every single American across this country. And frankly, these are the ideals and the values that are of the Democratic base of voters. We are seeing this chasm between the policies that voters actually want to see and the legislation that our leadership is actually progressing. And so I think this is actually a reminder to the party of this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what our base wants us to be doing. And taking care of that legislation and identifying people that are holding up that legislation is, I think, the responsibility of legislators that you send to represent you.
So the knock on Quiros from the DeGette folks is that she is too extreme. She is against all arms sales to Israel, offensive and defensive. She's made a number of remarks that DeGette and her allies have said are anti-Semitic, including that interview with me when I asked her whether she would describe the firebombing of Jews in Boulder as anti-Semitic. She said that she would not describe it that way necessarily because she said she didn't know it was in the heart of the attacker, whether it was an anti-Zionist attack or anti-Semitic attack, and a number of progressives have condemned her for that. The knock on DeGette is that she's had the seat for 29 years and hasn't done a whole heck of a lot with it, and that they want some young leftist energy in there to actually do some riskier stuff in a safe seat. So for the first time in 30 years, we have a toss-up race in the congressional district that includes Denver.
Well, how far do you think that name recognition goes, though? Because on the other side of 29 years, it's still the name that everybody knows when you just got that ballot and you're just filling it out.
Here's one thing that I would urge people to think about, right? So Colorado has semi-open primaries in which unaffiliated voters can cast a ballot. And there are a number of us who have talked about the fact that the Democratic primary is really where it's at in Colorado, so long as Republicans choose to not run competitive candidates. Those unaffiliated voters, you would think a good number of them would break for Diana DeGette, who's a known quantity for a long time in Denver, even if she's not a centrist, right? She's a progressive. But we have to be aware of saying unaffiliated voters equal centrists. They don't. We know that Colorado's unaffiliated voters, some are very liberal, some are very conservative, and some are centrist. But the point you bring up, Alex, is really well taken because that's 30 years of name identification. That's worth something, right? And not a lot of people on the progressive left or even the center left dislike Diana DeGette. She's been in office for a long time. The only knock on her is that she hasn't been bold enough, hasn't been effective enough. So if anything, the name is likely to help her.
All right, Kyle, thank you.
Yep.
And in fact, join us tomorrow night for up-to-the-minute election results. We'll look at who's winning and what those victories mean for Colorado. Our coverage and analysis begins at 6 p.m. next. Will be an hour long, and we'll have race results from 7 until 10 on KTBD. More on 9 News at 10 and Channel 9 and anywhere you stream online.
But first, we're going to start closer to home with another round of high-profile primary elections. Today, voters are heading to the polls in Colorado for yet another race that could decide the direction and the future of the Democrat Party. Once again, another Democratic Socialist candidate is on the ballot here. 3 DSA candidates just won in New York City. Colorado could be the next true test. Jeff Harris is standing by with the latest on the shift in whether voters will keep backing these far-left candidates. But first, let's start with Mark Boyle, the live desk tracking today's races. Of course, polls are going to open in Colorado in a few hours from now.
Damn, this guy's good.